When the 100 disciples that had originally prepared to fully take on this task heard they could even lose their lives, they were stunned. From here, whatever the potential all of the Four Styles School disciples had could be seen. Those that could bear hardship with equanimity mostly were those with immeasurable prospects. And it was only those that were timid upon hearing of danger that would someday completely lack accomplishments. Taoist Master Xiantian and the others observed all of the disciples, somewhat disappointed. Those that could maintain their cool probably was just more than 10. Zhu Yueka watched Su Xing's carefree appearance, a small smile on her face. Her gaze then looked to Yin Pingtian. The latter remained calm in the face of adversity, which was not outside of expectations. The Star Master of the Four Styles School was just between these two. Then Taoist Master Xiantian rose. His imposing air made everyone present alarmed into a cold sweat and into clarity. The heads of the four peaks each glanced at each other and walked up to the plaza. The others dispersed, and the four arranged a magic circle. They stood upon the array points representing wind, thunder, water and fire. Then they struck hand seals, read incantations. That huge sword sculpture in the plaza boomed, and was wrapped up by 4 rays of light. Taoist Master Xiantian stood up and flipped his wrist. He brought out a divine sword. This sword was 3 chi long, and white fog hovered around its entire body. From time to time wind blew. From time to time, thunder and lightning skipped. From time to time, a watery fog churned. From time to time, flames blazed. The 4 types of spirit magic wind, thunder, water, fire jumped on the sword, unexpectedly oddly mixing together into a whole, making people watching feel disbelief. This was the Four Styles School's sect guarding treasure, Four Styles Qiankuan sword. Taoist Master Qiankuan waved the Four Styles Qiankuan, firing 4 light rays. Immediately afterwards, the immense sculpture of the plaza boomed open. A spatial transfer array's vortex appeared. The vortex fired wind, thunder, water and fire, and everyone took a step back. The passage has been opened. Disciples willing to participate in this trial, enter quickly. Remember, immediately return if you feel danger. Zhu Yueka shouted, her tone very strict. All of the disciples were roused and fully realized she was not joking. A silhouette completely lacked hesitation as it scuttled into the portal and disappeared without a trace. Then a crimson light, a blue light, and a purple light entered in succession. The 4 great disciples of the Four Styles School took the initiative to enter the Four Styles solitary path. The others no longer hesitated the moment they saw this. It was hard to shine at this moment if they continued to counter. Besides, they had the escape technique talisman, so they could escape if worst came to worst. At the minimum, they had to see the Four Styles solitary path, and they entered the portal in succession. Zhu Yueka nodded her head. Junior brother Su Xing, you be careful. Senior sister will go take a look first. Yang Yinyu smiled, and also entered the Four Styles solitary path. Su Xing also sprung forth, immediately entering the portal afterwards. Heaven and earth, yin and yang seemingly reversed. Su Xing had only just been standing firm when a hot wind aggressively bubbled forth. A hot wind like one blowing from a stove. His whole body immediately boiled and his skin split open. Su Xing could be counted as having tasted the feeling of that time the monkey sun fell into the most high Laozi's furnace. Perhaps this was it. Su Xing furrowed his brow and looked around. The scene before him made Su Xing draw in a breath. In front of him was an enormous ravine constructed into an underground cavern. It was 1,000 meters tall and long enough that the end was not visible. The entire valley was of rolling lava, similar to a river of fire. Frightening magma released bubbles. Just the rising waves of heat was more than 1,000 degrees at the minimum. Just this made Su Xing somewhat unable to endure, which made the other cultivators even less worthy of mention. What the fuck is this place? Fire Eastern Island unexpectedly had this kind of lava river. So hot. This is practically more powerful than the heavenly clinging divine fire. Space flashed, and in the 400 to 500 meters near Su Xing appeared several dozen disciples. These disciples were far from having the sort of cultivation Su Xing had. Just the high heat of the lava river made them feel suffocated, intolerably hot all over. So this is the legendary Four Styles path. So mysterious. Wu Xinjie praised from within the star nest. The only ones accompanying Su Xing inside the star nest were only Wu Xinjie and Gong Sunhuang. Of the other 4 girls, Lin Yingmei and Yin Yizhen were seeking out materials to upgrade their star weapons. Shi Yuan and Insuan were in the Immortals' abode working on the 5 Poisons banner and making the 1,000-year tears of Empress Hua. Now that Maiden Mountain was being overbearing, with the evil smiting hall also imminent, and taking advantage of the fact Su Xing was cultivating, Lin Yingmei and Yin Yizhen did not wish to be idle. You know of the 4 styles solitary path? Su Xing said. Xinjie heard it is commonly seen in many forbid dances and historical ruins. It is an extreme landscape where 4 types of different climates simultaneously appear. The knowledge Star had read extensively across Liangshan. If they were to discuss something like the knowledge of historical remains, there was no one who could compare to her. And this should be the lava path of fire. Wu Xinjie smiled. Young lord, you must be uneasy. What Ju Yueka said was true. One wrong step is an unrecoverable calamity. Even the escape technique talisman would not work. Never thought it would be this formidable. No wonder they spoke that grimly before. Su Xing sighed. Each step he took, he felt the surrounding air temperature seemingly rise by a degree. After taking 20 to 30 steps, Su Xing could no longer move forward, for the temperature truly was blazing. In addition, a gust or 2 of hot wind would blow over from time to time, making the skin upon his face faintly somewhat painful, and his entire body burn. Su Xing prepared to use his flying sword, but since this was experience, he feared the flying sword would not be that simple. Just as he hesitated indefinitely, the other disciples at this time did not think as deeply as Su Xing. Upon seeing that it was merely a river of lava, several disciples laughed aloud. It seems it is merely so. Immediately, they flew towards the river of lava on riding swords. Flying midway, there was a bang, and the lava suddenly erupted. A pillar of fire rushed out. That fire pillar was truly too fast, and everyone had not yet reacted. The disciples on their riding swords then turned into ashes, with not even any slag left. Fuck, these motherfuckers are too terrifying. Ah, junior brother. Can a person even pass this? The other disciples lost their heads out of fear and screamed. A few disciples with the weakest cultivations already could not bear the hot winds, and then seeing their fellow students die tragically without the slightest sound, they immediately used their escape technique talismans. The talisman lights flashed, and they disappeared from this place. Truly cowards. Where along the road of the cultivator can you relax? How can you accomplish anything major if you are so afraid of the slightest thing? A male cultivator shouted. His words made the others calm down. But we can't fly, how do we pass by this? At this time, he suddenly saw a youth unhurriedly leap onto a slab of stone on the lava river. He immediately shouted in pleasant surprise. Still, that junior brother is brilliant. We only need to jump onto the stones floating in the lava river to cross. Since this is experience, these slabs surely cross this river. But what do we do if a column of flame were to overturn it? That male cultivator was mute. He bitterly smiled. We had best first watch that junior brother then speak. And thus a group of people just watched that youth nonchalantly jump on the slabs. He naturally was Su Xing. Young lord, be careful. Wu Xinjie anxiously said. And a mere trifle. When he was a soldier, Su Xing did not know how many hardships he endured, how many experiences he walked through. Naturally, he gained it in passing. Seeing this lava river was just as that male cultivator said. The stone slabs was the sole path to pass through the river. Even if the sea of fire were to rush, it could not. However, Su Xing did not dare be contemptuous. Retaining the fire spirit magic Sarira, the surrounding high temperatures were slowly absorbed. The high temperature of the lava river slowly warped, and the heat around his whole body immediately fell significantly. In addition, the fire spirit magic Sarira was increasingly red-hot, like a roasting fire. He never expected this lava river was a paradise to nurture the relic. Raising his head to watch the sky, he barely could make out an indistinct pitch black. After not being enveloped in a blaze, Su Xing did not hesitate to set out. The sole worry of using springboards on the lava river was the columns of flame that spouted between the slabs. This was the greatest test of the cultivators. If he was the slightest bit careless, he could fall into the sea of fire, vanish in a puff of smoke. Su Xing seized a flying sword for protection, not daring to be careless. The other cultivators followed when they saw this, but they were far from being as skilled as Su Xing, some dying under the sea of fire. By the time Su Xing had walked out several thousand meters, the other disciples had been left far, far behind by Su Xing. The cries inside the space were increasingly weak, and the first checkpoint unexpectedly stumped many star cultivators. Passing through the lava river with more fear than harm, he had not yet relaxed when a pile of rubble and a perfectly straight odd tree tall as half a person barred the way forward. There basically was not any road to walk. He could only unsteadily and slowly advance. Just as Su Xing walked the path of lava, Lin Mei and Yan Yizhen also walked along an extreme path. Twinkling ice crystals filled the sky, a very cold climate. Falling blossoms ghost kingdom, sun-binding mountain. Lin Mei raised her head to glance at each other with Yan Yizhen, walking different ways. Sun-binding mountain had the materials to upgrade their star weapons. At this moment, Lin Mei alone ventured forth several hundred meters, suddenly sensing danger. Suddenly, a swift and severe air-shattering sound ripped. Lin Mei retreated, her long spear extended. Clang clang. The attack flourished in that instant. Practically at the time their metallic arms rang, a fog wrapped in a hurricane collided with Lin Mei's similar divine wind concealment long spear, giving rise to an enormous attack. The cold entirety of the flash shuddered, and a layer of ice was even more being raised. The newcomer was a figure wrapped in a white cloak. She released a fog, and the airflow on her blade concentrated into a sharp blade light, tearing the cold air to shreds. A burst of air distorted. The saber light had been shattered, and Lin Mei was just like light that faded away. When she appeared, she gave the opponent a dazzling sight. The spear already stabbed towards her foe. The opponent raised her sword to block this incoming strike. Hey! The spear suddenly disappeared, for Lin Mei already appeared abruptly in front of her opponent. There was an air-breaking radiance, and the opponent rolled away. You are a star general? Lin Mei creased her brow. She felt the attacker in front of her was somewhat familiar, as if she was a star general. Her opponent nevertheless indifferently smiled. A meaningful curve hooked on the corner of her mouth. I am about to be serious. If you are merely this level, you will immediately lose. The cloak concealed that face, so Lin Mei could not discern what the opponent's eyes were planning, but her whole body's imposing air had a completely opposite change. The weapon passing through the hurricane emitted a sharpness. Lin Mei could clearly feel her opponent was exceptional, but from the weapon's perspective she sensed, she was neither a prideful fighter nor angry. Rather, there was a sort of an indecipherable tranquility, and a sort of leisure as if she was lifting weights. She was very formidable. Lin Mei cemented her determination, nevertheless not daring to be careless, and raised her spear. The light rays instantly ripped open. Weapons crossed. A hurricane wailed. The snowy cave shuddered. Two weapons each concealed by wind concealment divine stones crossed one another, spurting forth spear light and saber light incapable of being distinguished by the naked eye. The spear light exploded inside the caver, which was somewhat too much to take in, unrecoverable. The two weapons each hidden with wind concealment divine stones crossed one another, spurting forth spear light and saber light indistinguishable to the naked eye. The spear light exploded inside the cave, bringing a sharpness too much for the eyes, unrecoverable. Lin Mei made an ice-breaking shout, suddenly raising her spear to vertically slash. The newcomer waved her hand, and the formless weapon banged once again in a strike. In a split second, the ice cave boomed. The hurricane on the weapon dispersed instantly when it was struck by that impulse. Even the opponent's cloak fell apart in the blink of an eye, revealing a woman with a mature sex appeal like a fruit. Her purple hair was extremely breathtaking, and she had a pair of sharp, amber-colored pupils. A red armor tube top covered her towering chest, the surging of which would make women that saw jealous. Her snow white and the snowy scene in the surroundings fused together, revealing a wide expanse, laying it bare. The woman's hand clenched a very sharp long saber, the edge of which was clear just like crystal. The back of the blade was coiled with decorations like dragons yet not, like a phoenix yet not, sparkling as blood, circulating stars, making the starlight of the saber's blade very bright. The light rays were lustrous, and 2 stars glimmered on the saber. Dragon Sparrow Du Long Saber. The fulfillment star lord of the beautiful beard Zhu Tong. Lin Yingmei's expression sunk, and her hands tightly gripped the Arctic Star Serpent Spear. The Arctic Star Serpent Spear? Unexpectedly, it is majestic Star Panther Head Lin Chong. The fulfillment star said pensively. Her expression was very motherly. Is the purple thunder monster not here? Your servant urges you to leave Sunbinding Mountain with all possible haste. Lin Yingmei raised her spear, adopting an attack stance. The star general in front of her was not at all weak. On the contrary, she was worthy of Lin Yingmei facing her seriously. The woman shook her head, clenching the dragon sparrow Du Long saber. Just at this time, she suddenly heard a tender shout to the side. Aunt Monxiang. The fulfillment star immediately halted her attack and looked over in that direction. With a glance, she was stunned. She saw a figure clothed in a maid dress carrying a cute little girl towards them. The little girl was not just anyone, but Chai's Sakura. Little E. Lin Yingmei simultaneously spotted the skillful star. Yanqing. Monxiang was also very surprised to see Yan Yizhen. Originally at Kagoshima, Yan Yizhen's master had once saved Chai's Sakura, so they could be considered familiar with one another. Chai's Sakura planted her head into Monxiang's billowing waves, rubbing her face among them in pleasure. Seeing the foreheads of the two had a flickering star crest, Lin Yingmei's brow wrinkled even more deeply. That man also came? Zhu Monxiang asked. Master did not come. Yan Yizhen indifferently replied. She walked to Lin Yingmei's side calmly saying, We have met before. Zhu Monxiang showed a puzzled expression. What is this all about? Why did you attack Yingmei? Yan Yizhen clenched her fists, one leg forward, like a cheetah, her whole body stretched taut. Fulfillment star Zhu Monxiang broke into laughter. If your servant had known you two were familiar, your servant actually would not have meddled in your business. Did Wan-Yi-chan come to Sunbinding Mountain for something? This place is very cold. Chai's Sakura opened her innocent eyes. She was draped in a noble fur cloak, wore a blaze belt, and still she was frozen somewhat peskily. We have come to search for a few things. Lin Yingmei replied ice cold. Chai's Sakura shivered again. Never thought that man unexpectedly was the purple thunder monster. Truly completely different from the rumors, and he has 2 powerful star generals. The dragon sparrow Du Long saber was retracted. Zhu Monxiang kindly smiled, unlike an enemy, even more like an elder. Lin Yingmei and Yan Yizhen glanced at each other, and they each lowered their attack stances. You must have come to look for spirit jades and such to upgrade your star weapons? Zhu Monxiang calmly gazed at the two. Although Sunbinding Mountain is extremely cold, it has very long been plundered clean by ghost martial cultivators. You perhaps will be disappointed. That cannot be helped. Lin Yingmei twitched her lips. What does little sister wish to find? Maybe your servant can help you. In the rankings, Lin Yingmei was Zhu Monxiang's elder sister. However, she indeed actually gave Lin Yingmei that sort of elder feeling. Ice Kite Arctic Jade. Lin Yingmei had yet to reply when Yan Yizhen stole the chance to speak first. Ice Kite Arctic Jade, your servant actually has some. That is indeed a must for the majestic star to advance to 3-star destined weapon. Zhu Monxiang changed the topic. But your servant once agreed to owe your master a favor. To respond is still a must. This Ice Kite Arctic Jade will be a gift to you. You truly will gift it to your servant. To give an opponent another layer of strength. From Lin Yingmei's perspective, this was a stupid thing to do, especially during the star duels. Zhu Monxiang lightly smiled. It seemed she was unconcerned with the star duels. 2 pieces of Ice Kite Arctic Jade fell before Lin Yingmei. Only 1 piece is enough. Lin Yingmei shook her head. Do not hesitate to take them. Your servant does not wish to owe the man a favor. Then as you please. Lin Yingmei did not like to be long-winded. She waved a hand and retrieved the 2 pieces of Ice Kite Arctic Jade. With this, she lacked 30 liang of silver snow sand to be able to upgrade her star weapon to 3-star. Zhu Monxiang nodded her head. It was bitterly cold, ice and frost everywhere, the north wind blowing 1,000 li cold. Truly this was cold. Gazing at the scene in front of him, Su Xing only felt that his 4 limbs and all of his bones were cold. With great difficulty, he crossed the lava sea, and not more than 100 meters after that, the scene in front of him immediately jumped from the extreme of hot fire to another extreme. At this time, what appeared in front of Su Xing was the scene of 1,000 li frozen over. As far as the eye could see, whatever his line of sight landed on, sparkling and pure ice dripped. He could not hear the slightest sound, as if the wind had been frozen solid. The entire world was in a frozen state, the grasses and trees transformed into translucent ice sculptures. Cold light twinkled, with a sort of indescribable aesthetic and terror. Outside this entrance, there was an ice steel. It had been frozen with a layer 1 chi thick. Yet the 3 characters under the steel were still clearly visible. The quiet path. 3 quiet not just in name but in reality. If it was said that Su Xing previously was still complaining about the lava sea being too hot, now he felt that compared to the quiet path in front of him, he would rather return to a place as damnable as the lava sea. That place simply was a paradise, completely without chilly winds and snow. But there was a bone-chilling cold drilling through his skin, intruding into his meridians, organs and mind. Su Xing only felt staying for long would turn himself into an ice sculpture. Sensing that this was the quiet path's odd energy, Su Xing hastily operated the soul technique to make himself maintain a bottleneck state. Then he put on the Arctic star pendant Juyueka sent him, while also swallowing the fire spirit magic Sarira. That bone-penetrating cold then finally ebbed. The 4 styles path truly is too abnormal. Su Xing spat out a cloud of mist. He rubbed his hands. I don't know how they made this sort of extreme environment so pretty. Gong Sun Huang left the star nest and sat on Su Xing's shoulder, showing an amazed expression. Indeed, it is very beautiful. Wu Xinjie also appeared. Such an extreme actually is rare. We really should have had the little sisters come take a look. Wow, too pretty. Unexpectedly, there was even this sort of place. We did not cross the lava path in vain. However, why is it this cold? Several shouts in the quiet path seemed very ear-piercing. Su Xing raised an eyebrow and saw many disciples had already passed the lava sea. Like him, they showed amazement when they saw a world completely made of ice. However, Liangshan's star cultivators forever lacked a sort of appreciative mood. Following the extreme cold of the quiet path intruding the bottom of their hearts, all of the disciples then began to complain and curse heaven. Su Xing directly entered the quiet path. The materials to upgrading Mei and Little Yi's star weapons are required to be jades of extremely cold landscapes. This quiet path seems to have had several hundred years, so I wonder if there's anything they need. Su Xing muttered. Young lord can go look. Such cold is actually rare. Wu Xinjie could not bear it, shivered and entered the star nest. Gong Sun Huang sniffled. Little Huang, go rest in the star nest first. Su Xing smiled. Gong Sun Huang customarily kissed Su Xing's cheek, and also entered the star nest. Su Xing raised a breath of air. Originally he wanted to use wandering the clear skies, but thinking this was too shocking, he used his flying sword. The quiet path was an extremely large canyon, limitless. There were even frozen towns, a world of ice and snow as far as the eye could see. Without a snowstorm, it was nevertheless even colder. The riding sword speed also basically could not accelerate. It seems this 4-style school experience indeed was somewhat formidable, Su Xing pondered. Su Xing unfolded his huge divine intent. The quiet path's air had been frozen solid, and his divine intent could only spread within the surrounding 100 meters. This was the greatest effect of his divine intent. If it was any other cultivator, they perhaps would have to thank the heavens to extend their divine intent across a 10 meters. Su Xing began to use divine intent to scout the quiet path, to see whether or not there were any cold-type minerals and such. Su Xing searched as he pleased, not at all carrying too great a hope. His divine intent trembled, and Su Xing was amazed to spot an ice cliff. What is the matter, young lord? I used divine intent to search just now and encountered something. It froze me for a moment. Su Xing showed bewilderment. To still be able to freeze his divine intent when he possessed the Arctic Star Pendant and Fire Spirit Magic Relics was somewhat formidable. The riding sword descended, and Su Xing's divine intent rose. 2 pieces of thumb-sized stones floated in front of him. The stones were pale, their appearances completely lacking anything special. They appeared very ordinary, but these stones emitted an extreme cold. His divine intent was somewhat suffering damage. Su Xing immediately placed the stones in his palm, deeply inhaling. So incredible! Upon placing the stones in his hand, instantly, there was a deadly cold engulfed Su Xing's whole body. His consciousness instantly went blank, and he hastily imbued the Arctic Star Pendant and Fire Spirit Magic Relic with star energy in order to finally revive. That instant just now, he perhaps was about to suffer hidden damage. Clearly, it was more powerful than a few magic weapons and artifacts. This is Profound Silence Crystal. Su Xing discerned the background of this thing in front of him, somewhat gawking. Those known as tool refinement masters naturally needed to know every sort of material like the back of their hand. Su Xing knew of this Profound Silence Crystal from Heavenly Works Opening Objects. 5. This was a type of extremely powerful cold type ore. It could forge powerful ice-type magic weapons, and this sort of stone could have a chance of forming only in extremely cold and windless environments. Furthermore, Profound Silence Crystal only needed a bit of refining to be able to be launched as a concealed weapon. Whatever ice it was, cultivators would be at a disadvantage should they touch it. In particular, it could instantly sever the divine intent of the cultivator being confronted. For this reason, it had been named Profound Silence Crystal. Su Xing's premonitions were correct, as expected. Places like this quiet path could not possibly have nothing. Ingmei and Little Yi ought to be able to take it to refine their star weapons. Wuxia surmised. The 3rd star Ice Kite Arctic Jade was far from comparison to the Profound Silence Crystal. In addition, every grade for Star General Star Weapon promotion was very precious. And I think it should work. Su Xing hooked his lips, his expression cheerful. He looked around the quiet path. The ice plains were expansive, silent like pity. It seemed there would be a great harvest from this accidental opening of the 4 styles solitary path. The 15th Profound Silence Crystal. Su Xing moved his hand, and yet another 2 pieces of Profound Silence Crystal were discovered. This quiet path was a trip well worthwhile. Looking at his surroundings, he occasionally could see a few disciples fly by on riding swords, but not a single one was like Su Xing staying in the quiet path to search for things. It was not that they did not think of this, but rather that Su Xing really was too abnormal. Keeping upon him the 2 types of extreme cold defenses, the Arctic Star Pendant and the Fire Spirit Magic Sarira. How could the other disciples have such power? Even the disciples that came from Watermoon Peak could just barely get by. Wishing to quickly pass through this quiet path, why would they tarry? This actually gave Su Xing a very big opportunity. Young lord, will this not delay the matter with little sister Lianxin? Wu Xinjie somewhat anxiously said. Su Xing already had a plan. It's fine, I already told little sister Lianxin. Even if I'm not the first to cross, she won't contract. Anyways, by the time I get out, whoever wants to contract little sister Lianxin will have to then cross the checkpoint, that is me. Come to think of it, the headmaster wouldn't decline those who are capable. Su Xing chuckled. Wu Xinjie sweated. So shameless. A wolf's howl rose. The Su Xing currently using his divine intent to search was delighted. The quiet path had many demon beasts, and among them, the ice chief beasts were the most commonly seen type in the quiet path. Su Xing had encountered several. The places with ice chief beasts often had profound silence crystals. Following the sound, Su Xing immediately flew over. Instantly he saw the origins of the sound. He saw more than a dozen wolf-like demon beasts, their fur white and their mouths releasing icy breath, surround a girl and howl with angry looks. This beast was known as Ice Chief, a demon beast commonly seen under extreme cold. Generally in a pack, there was a leader, and they were very difficult to deal with. The girl wearing a red robe was currently brandishing a burning fire dragon whip. In the world of the quiet path, the whip's cracks were ear-piercing, unceasingly burning. Among the large ice wolves was one very eye-catching, larger than ordinary ice chief beasts by a size. This was the ice chief beast's leader, Nirvana Ice Chief. 2. The Nirvana Ice Chief currently was continuously intertwined with the girl, spraying freezing ice, its sharp claws tearing at her. The other ice chief beasts circled at the side for an opening, not giving the girl the chance to escape. Every time the girl wanted to raise her riding sword to fly away, the Nirvana Ice Chief would suddenly fire a bolt of frigid ice, making her incapable of running anywhere. If it was not for her relying on that exceptional fire dragon whip magic weapon, the girl basically would be incapable of enduring. Since this was so, continuously waving it made her energy deplete. She is that crafty and unruly woman, Wu Xinjie said. The one that had been trapped was Ruan Hongxue. It was obvious she already was incapable. Yet her not using the escape technique talisman truly was odd. Ruan Hongxue's small face was pale. The fire dragon whip and a dozen flying swords were nearby, but the burning had been incredibly sapped by the quiet path's environment. It completely lacked destructive power. In this sort of extremely cold environment, how could Ruan Hongxue be their opponent? When Su Xing saw this, he activated his sword chant. Does young lord want to go save her? And, although this girl was very unruly, Su Xing was not that sort of person to watch with contempt. In Su Xing's perspective, Ruan Hongxue was just a still wet behind the ears miner, not worth lowering himself to argue with. If merely this was enough to make him feel the other party should die, that was a little vile. Roar! The Nirvana Ice Chief roared, spraying a cold wind. The snow wolves swished into a head-on attack. Ruan Hongxue cried out in panic, hastily controlling her flying swords to go block. The fire dragon whip in her hand raged, thrashing. In the end, she had insufficient experience. The Nirvana Ice Chief only sprayed the wind to make her exhaust her strength. The Nirvana Ice Chief swayed, and then it spouted several cold lights, striking Ruan Hongxue with no strength to resist. The other Ice Chief beasts also began to exert their strength. Ruan Hongxue's flying swords very quickly lost their spiritual powers, and were broken one by one. The fire dragon whip gnashed. The Nirvana Ice Chief dodged to the side. Consecutively fighting in the quiet path had made Ruan Hongxue already completely spent. Showing a gap, the Nirvana Ice Chief seized onto the chance, spurting forth a cold light. Ruan Hongxue's whole body turned cold, as if her entire body had been frozen. The other Ice Chief beasts immediately pounced when they saw, about to rip Ruan Hongxue to shreds. The girl lost hope when she saw this. The shadow of a sword abruptly approached from the east, rushing before the Ice Chief beasts, and shooting in front of her. The sword's power divided, becoming countless sword images that densely packed the surroundings. Those Ice Chief beasts could not approach her, continuously attacking the swords. Su Xing wiped his cold sweat. On the whole, he had rushed as fast as he could, and he had not expected the magic sealing sword could be used like this. However, confronting these Ice Chief beasts was still doable. Confronting the other cultivators, it would be very easy to erase the divine sense of the magic sealing sword, to steal it from him. Roar! The Nirvana Ice Chief once again spat out freezing ice, and the other Ice Chief beasts discovered Su Xing also was aiming an attack at them. Su Xing's 10 fingers flicked. Several purple lotus flowers shot out. The Ice Chief beasts immediately yelped and were blown flying upon contact. It was a pity that the golden flying swords could not be used, and were still being nurtured. Otherwise, handling these Ice Chief beasts actually would be easy. However, relying on Purple Mansion Immortal Thunder was also enough to spare. The blade-like winds whooshed, slamming into the Purple Mansion Immortal Thunder, then becoming formless without the least bit of sound. Su Xing's gaze shifted, and the Nirvana Ice Chief spat out cold light and wind, a soundless cold intent pressing in from all sides. The surrounding air seemingly turned even colder. Flying swords no longer listened to order, falling down. There was a violent air-breaking noise. The Nirvana Ice Chief already darted and pounced over. The fur on its whole body raised, terrifyingly pale. Su Xing curled his lips. He lazily flipped his hand, revealing the intertwined branch sword, forging onwards like this. Its body flipped in midair, and the Nirvana Ice Chief's claw already scratched at Su Xing's cranium. The bone-penetrating chill rapidly spread through his limbs and throughout his whole body. Su Xing did not mind this situation in the slightest. His figure indistinctly moved, and the intertwined branch sword already pierced into the Nirvana Ice Chief's body. Before blood even sprayed, it had been frozen. Su Xing's attacks fiercely dropped in succession like raindrops. His limbs let the ice-cold figure sweep over, firmly sticking onto the Nirvana Ice Chief without the slightest bit of loosening. His berserk attacks stirred a great amount of dust that shot everywhere. Shined upon by the cold light in midair, it emitted a brilliant white light. The Nirvana Ice Chief probably did not expect there would be a cultivator that surprisingly dared to get close. Getting back several paces, it made a sharp howl, and an ice-cold light madly rushed forth from its mouth, directly towards the face of Su Xing just within its reach. The cold light suddenly surrounded Su Xing's body, twisting madly like a myriad of swords. At the same time the cold light dispersed, the Nirvana Ice Chief that thought it grasped victory was nevertheless stunned. 12 golden swords hovered around Su Xing, blocking its deadly cold light like a shield. The golden light rays were dim, but the might they vaguely distributed still made the Nirvana Ice Chief feel fear. Young lord, this Nirvana Ice Chief is a 6th-ranked demon beast. You can unexpectedly contend with this sort of demon beast. Wu Xinjie was speechless. I'm used to it. Due to Su Xing inheriting Lin Yingmei's battle doctrine, he fundamentally was still fond of this sort of battle. Of course, there was another reason, and that was he did not discount the possibility of being able to face star generals in the future. The 12 flying swords revolved, suddenly advancing. The golden light gathered, and the other Ice Chief beasts were then slain. The Nirvana Ice Chief's cold fur released a bone-chilling cold, just like a prehistoric ice beast. Its breath quickly condensed and swelled, and the suppressed low howl in its throat was continuously released. It arched its body, suddenly pouncing at Su Xing's 6th-ranked demon beast. Any way it was put, that was still equivalent to galaxy late-stage cultivation. The silent space transmitted an enormous ripping feeling. The entire ice plains nearly became the realm of the Nirvana Ice Chief. The cold air incessantly emitted from its body made average cultivators completely lack ways to approach. The sharp shadows even more became its fierce weapons. The huge body leapt in midair, as if it could not do without tearing Su Xing to shreds. In this moment, the Nirvana Ice Chief completely displayed a 6th-ranked demon beast's air of leadership. A pair of transparent eyes were like crystals. The eyes seemingly full of bone-chilling cold shattered with countless pieces of ice that were shot out. Su Xing clicked his tongue. Judging from the Nirvana Ice Chief's appearance, perhaps Heaven Tearing was about to be struck with misfortune. Su Xing did not want to once again suffer damage. His figure dove, immediately using the innate Bagua shield. The sharp claws and fangs missed by a hair's breadth, bringing wind pressure, but nevertheless not even getting close to Su Xing. The Nirvana Ice Chief's repeated attacks interchanged, only obtaining large amounts of ice fragments with its failures. The original objective nevertheless could not be reached one bit. Although its powers already reached the limits of what it could achieve, it actually had no effect in the slightest. Suddenly it stopped. Its chafing, ear-piercing voice poured into Su Xing's ears. The Nirvana Ice Chief's enormous body already stiffened to a stop. Following that, the countless cold hairs on its body instantly fired like bullets. An ear-piercing, air-ripping sound filled the air, and numerous icicles enveloped all spaces that Su Xing could dodge towards, without the slightest gap. Along with the launching of icicles, its large mouth once again opened, and inside was an ice-cold ball of light. Just at this moment, a purple thunderbolt shot out from Su Xing's fingers. Purple thunder dragon slaying. The purple thunder linked together, fiercely shooting into the Nirvana Ice Chief's mouth. The ice-cold light was immediately swallowed into its stomach with a whine, the purple thunder exploding inside its belly. The golden sword spun to block this icicle. Su Xing then pointed, and sword chi became threads that transformed into a giant edge, slashing towards the Nirvana Ice Chief. The Nirvana Ice Chief wailed, breaking into a run to escape. Su Xing was not ruthless, allowing it to run 100 meters, only then did he slowly give chase. What is going on? The Ruan Hongxue wrapped in the magic sealing swords could only see lights beyond the sword shadows. Not knowing what was happening, but from the sounds, she could determine the profound Ice Wolf King seemingly was being trampled on. Ruan Hongxue truly had the mind to devote herself to her savior, always clenching tight her fist for morale. A moment later, the Wolf King apparently ran away, its sounds gradually fading. Ruan Hongxue sighed in relief, but waiting for a long time and not seeing the one who had come undo these weird flying swords. Ruan Hongxue, who had just experienced a life and death calamity, did not dare erase the divine intent on the flying swords. Idly, she waited like this, between heaven and earth, a moment of silence. Long afterwards, Ruan Hongxue rubbed his nose, feeling as if she was about to faint. Just at this moment, suddenly, the densely packed swords around her were retracted layer by layer. I can see your chest is not big, but how are you this brainless? Foolishly staying here. Could it be you do not know you were supposed to use the escape technique talisman to run away? A powerless voice chided. You dare scold this young lady? Ruan Hongxue previously still had some gratitude, but hearing her counterpart surprisingly dare to lecture her like this, she immediately was angered. What is the matter? Not only do I scold you, do you not believe I would not dare spank you? Su Xing seemingly smiled yet did not. Ruan Hongxue was dumbstruck upon seeing Su Xing. Why are you the one that saved me? Any way you put it, you are my junior sister. Senior brother is not so rude like you. Quickly leave on your own. It seems you will be unable to cross to the next checkpoints. Do not find yourself any more trouble. Su Xing's face had an expression of not wanting to lower himself to her level written upon it as he turned and left. Taking several steps, Su Xing rarely did not hear Ruan Hongxue's fiery temper explode. Could it be said that the silent path wore down her temper? This actually was strange. Su Xing turned his head, finding Ruan Hongxue standing on the plains, not saying anything. She looked at herself like this, her face very pale. Her body tottered, clearly about to be unable to support herself. Could it be you truly want to court death? Su Xing's tone sunk somewhat severe. Sundaras ought to have a limit. Being yelled at by Su Xing like this, Ruan Hongxue was startled. She rubbed her nose as if she was a meek and pitiful lamb facing a hungry wolf. My escape talisman is gone. Ah! Su Xing was powerless, once again walking in front of her. Ruan Hongxue was somewhat afraid of Su Xing, retreating several steps. You do not have one? Did. It was destroyed by that demon beast. Ruan Hongxue replied. Su Xing clearly understood. As he said, how could Ruan Hongxue be this brainless? About to become lunch in a hungry wolf's belly, she still went all out to resist. She truly thought she was as abnormal as Su Xing was, capable of killing the Nirvana Ice Chief. Take it. Su Xing did not even need to think, and gave his escape technique talisman to Ruan Hongxue. The girl was very surprised and very anxious. Are you not using it? I indeed want to marry little sister Lianxin. I naturally can walk this 4 styles solitary path to the end. I have no use holding on to it. Su Xing did not believe he would. You truly want to go participate in the star duels? Ruan Hongxue was even more astonished. Su Xing was not very receptive of her response. Could it be his participation in the star duels was a very ridiculous matter? No matter what was said, he did have 6 little sisters. Seeing that Su Xing was somewhat disdainful, Ruan Hongxue stammered an explanation. She is only the solitary star. You participating is only going to your death. The star duels have that many sects, Su Xing smiled. What? Ruan Hongxue, were you not eager for me to go die 100 times? Unexpectedly, you would be concerned that I want to participate in the star duels? Ruan Hongxue was taken aback. Her face stifled in a thorough red. She glared with her eyes, snatched the escape technique talisman, again resuming her habitual domineering attitude. This young lady saw you save me that I would kindly warn you. Seeing your completely clueless appearance, still going to participate in the star duels, you definitely will regret it. All right, you ought to quickly leave. Su Xing nodded, not wanting to delay here with her too long. Ruan Hongxue pursed her lips, not too happy about Su Xing's impatient appearance, taking Ruan Hongxue to be pretty as a flower. If he was a man, even if he was not aroused, things would not be as bad as to that he would feel impatient. However, from the several times they ran into each other, she knew the man in front of her could not be judged with common sense. You take this. Ruan Hongxue pushed out her 2 hands, pushing 2 items to Su Xing's front. In her left hand was a pearl, and her right hand had the fire dragon whip. Su Xing wrinkled her brow. I, Ruan Hongxue, do not wish to owe a favor to a man as loathsome as you. You saved me and even gave me an escape technique talisman. This wind-settling pearl and fire dragon whip will be lent to you for use. So as not to have you blame me for taking your escape technique talisman when you do not get out of and die in the 4 styles solitary path, becoming an evil spirit to haunt me. Ruan Hongxue snorted, throwing her head to the side. Then I shall help myself. Su Xing took the 2 items. He knew that if he declined anyways, this little girl's heart certainly would be dissatisfied. You had a wind-settling pearl? As expected of Ruan Hongxue. Su Xing looked at this pearl, its entire body brilliant, a cool breeze blowing gently, but it was a powerful spirit treasure, capable of avoiding evil winds. This is, Ruan Hongxue spoke halfway when she turned her eyes and said, I picked this up in the silent path. However, this is only lent to you until you complete the 4 styles solitary path. You have to return it to me when you come out. And the wind-settling pearl was a precious spirit treasure. No one would so easily give it to another. Seeing that the silent path was devoid of anyone, even if Su Xing killed Ruan Hongxue right now to steal the wind-settling pearl, no one would sense it. However, Su Xing disdained doing this sort of shady business. Ruan Hongxue stared at Su Xing, snorted, and pinched apart the talisman. Suddenly, she disappeared from the plains, leaving the silent path. This Ruan Hongxue is a bit tsundere, but her heart is not very bad. Su Xing said. Has young lord taken a fancy to her? Wu Xinjie teased him in reply. Su Xing rolled his eyes at her. Why would I take a fancy to her? Although your young lord is somewhat unfaithful, he still is not fickle in love. Wu Xinjie giggled. The silent path honestly was too big. Su Xing navigated through half of it, and really did not have time to continue. No longer did he search for profound silence crystal. However, even so, his harvest also was bountiful. He checked his astral bag. 52 pieces of profound silence crystal could be considered excessive beyond the limit. To sell these, the value was more than 10 billion. There was still a Nirvana Ice Chief soul, and giving it to Shi Yuan to refine into a puppet beast was just right. Besides this, there was also the fire dragon whip and wind-settling pearl that Ruan Hongxue lent. To Su Xing, the fire dragon whip was not at all useful, but this wind-settling pearl perhaps would be a divine item to cross the 4 styles solitary path's path of wind. Pondering for a moment, Su Xing stood up and walked down the next path. The 4 styles solitary path's 3rd path was known as Angry Destruction Path. 3. The sky rumbled with rolls of thunder, bursting out with flame from time to time. The thunder and lightning were just like peeping fire dragons rolling amidst the overcast clouds, spitting out their breath, ready at any time to attack. There was basically no doubt that as long as a cultivator used riding sword flight, these heavenly thunders would strike the cultivator into ash without the slightest hesitation. Su Xing reacted. The angry destruction path's air was pervaded with a static electricity-like substance. Every step was extremely exhausting for his strength, as if he was walking through a marsh, unable to move a single step. If it could be said that the lava path tested a cultivator's judgment and reactions in the face of death, that the silent path tested a cultivator's willpower, then the angry destruction path tested a cultivator's endurance. To go forward in the extreme electricity, cultivators of low cultivations simply would find it intolerable. At this time, Su Xing nearly could not spot any other disciples. The angry destruction path was a deathly stillness, absolutely empty. The sounds of thunder rolled with an increasing malevolence. Su Xing circulated Purple Mansion Immortal Thunder. Just by cultivating this sort of thunder magic, to Su Xing, this did not count as a threat. After a short while, Su Xing already proceeded more than halfway. From the front suddenly came the sounds of clanging weapons in battle. Su Xing slowed his pace, using the oneness of heaven and man to sneak over. Turning a corner, Su Xing promptly saw two figures currently battling a python at an open space ahead. That python was 3 zhang long. Its entire body was thick as a bucket and a gloomy green. Its snake eyes released light, and its mouth spat a green light to fight the 2 cultivators. Those 2 cultivators were not just anyone. They were the 4 Style School's 4 great disciples, Yijun and Songwanji, the Green Thunder Python. Su Xing recognized the history of this python. It was only a 4th-ranked demon beast, however. It seemed that Yijun and Songwanji nevertheless fought with everything they had. Su Xing could tell these 2 apparently were secretly thinking of breaking through the python, as if there was something behind it. Su Xing used sea mountains as mountains, sea rivers as rivers, breaking out into laughter. On a tree behind the Green Thunder Python was an awe-inspiring skeleton. That skeleton was like a person's, with only half the body, but a gray jade was embedded in the middle of the skill. This jade's light was dim, but it vaguely emitted a primordial spirit chi. Cultivators with only some experience could tell at a glance this item unexpectedly was an ancient lost treasure. Cultivators of supercluster stage and lower were incapable of using and refining magic weapons, but there was an exception. Lost treasures were the prototypes of magic weapons. Cultivators of any stage could use them. So long as it was refined, it would be a magic weapon. An ancient lost treasure could only be found, not requested for. No wonder Yijun and Songwanji battled so earnestly. He saw the 2 each control a light blue flying sword to pincer attack the left and right. Occasionally, Songwanji also would extend several water thread magic to coil around the Green Thunder Python. Yijun also used thunder roll magic, and the moment the thunder was touched, it burst forth with lightning. The cultivations of the 4 Style School's 4 great disciples were very high. The most primary cause was that they did not participate in tool refinement at all. Originally, the 4 Style School was a tool refinement great sect, but by doing so, cultivation advancement was very slow. For example, the heads of the 4 spirit peaks were no more than galaxy late stage. Afterwards, the 4 Style School also figured out tool refinement was not a way forward. They vigorously cultivated a few elite disciples, Yijun and Songwanji among them. The cultivation of these 2 were both galaxy late stage. It was just that although their cultivations were high, their tool refinement arms were almost mediocre, so it was no wonder Yijun and Songwanji wanted that ancient lost treasure to refine into a magic weapon. Under the teamwork of the 2, the Green Thunder Python retreated little by little. It suddenly coiled and rolled, extended its venomous fangs, spraying a thunderlight that filled the skies. The 2 calmly and promptly raised defensive item, enveloping them in a dim blue light cover. The thunderlight had a corrosive toxicity that unexpectedly corroded that item the moment it touched the barrier. Seeing the light screen on the verge of collapse, Yijun coldly snorted, immediately forming a hand seal. The flying swords formed an array, and sword chi-like threads tore apart the Green Thunder Python's green light, and shot onto its body. The Green Thunder Python let loose a scream. Seeing things turn for the worse, it wanted to flee. At this time, how would they give it the chance? Songwanji shouted, unleashing a dark blue ribbon. That ribbon was like a fleeting wave of water, firmly wrapping around the Green Thunder Python. Yijun at the same time flung out a 3 cun long iron nail. This nail suddenly enlarged, taking advantage of that Green Thunder Python's energy being greatly harmed by the chops of the flying sword. It could not move in the slightest, and the nail approached 7 cun, firmly fastening the Green Thunder Python. Several flying swords twisted, and the Green Thunder Python's snake head suddenly was severed, exploding with a heap of thunder light and green blood. It forced Yijun and Songwanji to take a step back. Songwanji recalled the water light damask. 5. Her expression delighted as she flew quickly towards the skeleton on that tree. Just at this time there was a sudden change. The 7 cun nail originally stuck abruptly moved towards Songwanji. At the same time, Thunderlight also approached. Songwanji seemingly already had prepared for this, her reactions extremely quick. She waved a sleeve, and a water ball washed away the nail. Just as Songwanji was about to be furious, she suddenly felt a cold wind attack her from behind. A talisman flew out, and a figure like a water shadow rippled. The Thunderlight flying sword then pierced through that doppelganger. Ijun, what are you doing? Song Wanji's almond eyes opened wide, indignantly watching the sneak-attacking man. The flying swords once again attacked. Song Wanji also controlled her flying swords into an offensive, her eyes gazing at that skeleton and leaking unwillingness to lose. Junior sister, we discovered that ancient lost treasure at the same time. That Niwa Jade 6 is so precious. Thinking of consuming it by yourself, that is not too good, is it? Ijun sinisterly smiled, also rushing for the bones in the tree. Su Xing watched and sighed. Unexpectedly, they would kill their own compatriots for an ancient lost treasure. Niwa Jade. Wu Xinjie cried out in shock from within the star nest. Is this lost treasure very incredible? Liangshan continent's lost treasures were too numerous. Su Xing could not possibly know them all, so he asked this. Far more than that crying infant. This Niwa Jade is an exceptional magic weapon capable of matching supercluster stage. Wu Xinjie explained. Every stage of a star cultivator was a threshold. Let alone that Song Wanji and Ijun were galaxy late stage. To turn from galaxy to supercluster was hard to achieve without more than 10 years. This was also why Liangshan continent chased after star cultivators. Because they had contracted star generals, their star energies and innate talents would progress very quickly. Their realms also would be very easily broken through. No wonder that the Song Wanji and Ijun that appeared to be on very good terms would fall out with each other. A magic weapon that could match up against a supercluster ancestor was honestly too great a help to them. People were all selfish, but Su Xing believed that it was possible for people to not offend one another. Even that spirit treasure, wind-settling pearl, of Ruan Hongxue was beneath his dignity to steal. But should he encounter 10,000-year evil-suppressing gem bamboo, he still would have the idea to help himself to that. Now that Maiden Mountain already was overbearing, any one supreme-grade magic weapon was good. Still, magic medicines were bargaining chips when facing Maiden Mountain's revenge in the future. His reflection was fleeting, and Su Xing had his way of thinking. Young lord, giving them such a good thing honestly is too wasteful. Wu Xinjie stole a grin. Worthy of the title woman of loose morals. His and her ways of thinking were the same. On the other side, Song Wanji and Ijun battled, not expecting there would be a third faction. Ijun rushed for the Niwa Jade. Song Wanji's water light damask rolled, shooting out light rays that forced Ijun back. Their cultivations were the same, and they were also very familiar with one another. If they truly were to fight, it was unknown who would triumph over the other. For the sake of an ancient lost treasure, senior brother Ijun would want to kill his own fellow? Song Wanji really is disappointed. Song Wanji smiled very gently. Umph. Ijun disdainfully said. Song Wanji, stop speaking nonsense. If you do not want internecine strife, you need only yield to your servant. Then we shall see each of our own abilities. Song Wanji's face was covered in frost. This is just right. The able shall take it, so as to avoid injuring our camaraderie. Ijun craftily smiled. Song Wanji's expression was not at all sightly. She knew that Ijun cultivated a thunder-type cultivation method. In this angry destruction path, he had taken a big advantage. At present, Song Wanji's magic energy was quickly exhausting. She did not dare be too trusting. Coldly shouting, she struck hands seals. Several soft incantations faintly left her lips. In her hand appeared a jade wave blue banner. Song Wanji shook the banner, and it fired a dozen translucent snow-white ice spears, fiercely pouncing towards Ijun. Ijun raised a hand. A giant yellow thunderblade shot out from his wrist, instantly shattering the sneak-attacking ice spears with a polypola. 2. Without slowing one bit, it shot directly in the direction of Song Wanji in a swift attack. The thunderlight brushed past Song Wanji in a thrilling arc, which put the girl in an incomparably difficult situation. Song Wanji was greatly angered. What a goody June unexpectedly using thunder roll edge. 3. Could it be you want to kill even little sister? The banner in her hand shook. At the same time, the ground beneath Ijun all of a sudden became a pool of seawater. Suddenly, an ice-cold blue beam of light violently shot out. Because the speed was too quick and the distance too short, Ijun simply was too late to dodge. He had no choice as his expression slightly changed to greatly flourish the thunder light up and down his body to directly resist. Does your icy banner not also wish to send me directly to death? Under the attack of blue light, Ijun was beaten into staggering forward a couple steps. Somewhat staggering, he stood unsteadily. Ijun also showed a furious expression. His hand struck a hand seal. Green light flashed, and more than a dozen flying swords shot out a lightning net that covered Song Wanji's flying swords. Then, the net became a sharp sword chi that ruthlessly covered towards Song Wanji. Song Wanji once again threw out an artifact to greet it. But just at this time, there was the boom of thunder. Ijun used an escape technique and suddenly appeared to the side of Song Wanji. His two hands tightly grasped a thunder roll edge, ferociously making a slanted slash. Song Wanji was startled. In a flurry, she used the water wave's Damask 5 to go block him. The blue wave's barrier protecting her body reacted instantly, and suddenly swelled to directly receive Ijun's giant sword. Ijun coldly chuckled. His figure unexpectedly faded from view right before her, and from every direction came an air-breaking sound of puffs. More than a dozen lightning strings thin as bowstrings suddenly appeared in the surroundings, simultaneously stabbing forth violently. Song Wanji knew that Ijun had a heart-piercing garrison thunder 6 ability. She was fully aware of its might, and she did not dare receive it directly. The water wave's damask rolled out gleaming and rippling barrier, enveloping Song Wanji within. With an enormous bang, the thunder roll edge slashed onto the barrier. The lightning bolts made the rippling waves immediately rock, and then more than 10 bolts of thunder and lightning, like venomous snakes, oddly squeezed into the waves. Together, they penetrated several chi, still ferociously drilling forwards, even breaking through several layers. Song Wanji was startled and furious. Her eyes flashed a cold light. She raised a hand and felt for her astral bag. She felt out a completely blue talisman. This talisman disintegrated, and there was a specter of blue light. The heart-piercing garrison thunder broke the layers of defenses and flying swords. The thunder roll edge followed afterwards in succession to slash Song Wanji, shattering with a walla. Song Wanji dispersed like a reflection in water. The mirror image talisman. 8. Song Wanji never expected that you would have this kind of rare talisman. Ijun turned around, waving his hand. The sneak attack of the Song Wanji that appeared behind him was immediately jolted apart. Afterwards, thunderlight struck, sending Song Wanji back several dozen meters, vomiting blood. The mirror image talisman made a phantom of the caster appear on the opposite side. It was capable of confusing the enemy at a moment of crisis. Ijun knew of this talisman's use, so Song Wanji's sneak attack naturally completely lacked usefulness. The attack methods of the thunder magic Ijun cultivated were very incredible. Song Wanji's water moon peak majored in water magic that was at a disadvantage. How could she be an opponent? Not one of her attacks was effective, and to continue thinking of defeating Ijun simply was not too possible. Ijun's hand grasped the thunder roll edge, his flying sword stirred, and the heart-piercing garrison thunder tied into a net that blocked Song Wanji's path, about to kill her in a spurt of energy. Song Wanji was furious. Could it be you actually want to kill a little sister for the Nuwa Jade? Ijun made a crooked grin. Then I ask that junior sister be tactful. Just at this moment, a mocking voice interrupted them. Killing one of your own for a lost treasure. This bargaining chip for betrayal is rather too low. The two were shocked. Casting a glance, they did not know when Su Xing appeared on that tree branch. That Nuwa jade that made them fight was already being fiddled around with in his palm. As a result of them being too absorbed in their battle, the two of them completely did not notice Su Xing. Junior brother, this is not your thing. Quickly turn it over to senior brother. Ijun's voice sunk, his tone strict. His eyes showed an ominous glint. That expression seemed about to swallow Su Xing at any time. The capable have reservations. If you want it, come take it yourself. Su Xing stored away the Nuwa jade, speaking without the slightest bit of courtesy. Courting death. Ijun furiously said. The heart-piercing garrison thunder, thunder roll edge and flying swords did ruthlessly went to greet Su Xing. Su Xing had already made preparations. Purple lightning jumped along his 10 fingers. First was an innate bagua escape technique to dodge the attack. Leaning his body to evade, his fingers immediately flicked, and the purple thunder of his hands formed a dragon whose sharp claws slashed towards Yijun. Although Yijun was able to react, the heart-piercing garrison thunder and thunder roll edge were slow a step. The flying swords were ripped apart by the purple lightning dragon claw. The remaining bolt and claw directly seized Yijun. The 5 spirits' law heavenly book's magic was exceptionally fierce. The artifacts protecting his body immediately broke, sending him out 100 meters. Yijun screamed, his entire body incessantly twitching in pain. Su Xing had not expected the 5 claws dragon capture to be this powerful. Just as Yijun was about to climb up, Su Xing gestured with his hand. A bolt of purple thunder struck, blasting Yijun nearly unconscious. Then Su Xing turned his wrist once more, bringing the fire dragon whip to his hand. His star energy concentrated, and the whip suddenly blazed with flame, transforming into a dragon that directly pulled apart the heart-piercing garrison thunder, jolting the flying swords. The fire dragon tossed about. Yijun's complexion was pale, just like he had no margin for resistance. Ah, the fire dragon whip? Song Wanji was dumbfounded. How do you have junior sister Hongshue's astral treasure? I ought to deliver justice on the behalf of heaven against scum like yourself. But forget it. I am not any sort of envoy of justice, so as to avoid me earning the reputation of killing my own. Su Xing chuckled. The whip left Yijun's cheek. Yijun got up with difficulty, staring at Su Xing with matchless hatred. His hands formed a seal, and his flying sword shot forth. Purple lightning wrapped up the flying swords. Su Xing did not expect Purple Mansion Immortal Thunder would be used so smoothly. A good trick. Yijun's expression changed, also discerning that Su Xing's Purple Thunder ability was out of the ordinary. Yijun is in admiration. Master Aunt Juyueka is amazing as expected. That junior brother would unexpectedly have such power. Su Xing shrugged. Yijun knew that he was not an opponent, not delaying anymore. He coldly glanced at the aloof Song Wanji to the side. Junior sister Wanji, I offended you just now. I ask that you do not mind. Song Wanji indifferently snorted from her nostrils. Yijun used the escape technique talisman and left the area. Many thanks to junior brother for saving Wanji's life. Song Wanji smiled widely. I just cannot bear to see internecine strife. Su Xing was unconcerned. Song Wanji's eyes had an odd expression. She slightly smiled. Junior brother truly is taciturn. It seems senior sister's previous words courted disgrace upon herself. Junior brother defeated Yijun in one strike just now. It appears this school truly has fortune in the star duels. Su Xing smiled. Are you still able to walk the final path? Song Wanji shook her head. Her magic energy was considerably expended, especially when the next one was wind. She simply could not go on, and she wanted to leave. Su Xing suddenly called out. Right, senior sister. Can you sell junior brother some copies of that talisman you used just now? Su Xing recalled the mirror image water shadow talisman Song Wanji used just now. In a critical moment, it honestly was a pretty good life-saving trick. The mirror image talisman? Junior brother, if you want it, take it. Take it as a favor of gratitude for junior brother's actions, and also take it as a helping hand for junior brother's participation in the star duels. Song Wanji smiled. She took out 5 mirror image talismans. Although the mirror image talisman was a high-grade talisman, refining this talisman was nevertheless very troublesome. It was always very rare. Song Wanji's mirror image talismans were also found inside a ruin. As far as Song Wanji was concerned, though the mirror image talisman was good, it actually was very rarely used. She might as well sell it for a favor. She could see that the junior brother in front of her was a character that had boundless prospects. Many thanks to senior sister. Su Xing nodded his head. Song Wanji sweetly smiled, and with a ripple she left. Su Xing took a fancy for the mirror image talisman also because he wanted to give his beautiful girls a measure of self-preservation. Although the star nest rendered them indestructible, dying once was still unbearable. Next up should be going to the last one of the 4 styles' solitary path. Su Xing took a deep breath, finally about to reach the end. Her fresh bun flowed, her gown dragged along the floor, her supple but shifted, and her delicate steps were graceful. The noble star little whirlwind Chailing was half charming, half grand. She walked into the purple firmament palace. The palace that was the treasure house of the noble stars. Despite that the little whirlwind placed herself outside the star duels, it was just a pity that although these treasures were good, she nevertheless was unable to participate in the star duels. Every star maiden could only wear 2 astral treasures, otherwise, Chailing would be very willing to demonstrate the result of Maiden Mountain star duels by using astral treasures. The purple firmament palace's purple clouds puffed, light rays blazed, and a 10-colored treasure chi flowed. The entire treasure house was more than two with glazed floors, a passage to the top, and large magnificent crystal podiums lined the sides. The crystal podiums were bright and limpid. Each had an astral treasure placed upon it, with some even having prehistoric spirit treasures, magic weapons and such. These podiums altogether numbering more than 100 had invaluable magic weapons in excess of 100. Their magnificence could be clearly seen. And these podiums had forbid dances protecting them. Other than Chailing's star crest of the noble star, no one could undo them. Chailing gracefully stepped silently inside the purple firmament palace. There was a slightly charming expression out of the corner of her eye, briefly glancing at each treasure on the podiums. Gourds, paintings, blades, jade bottles, clubs, ancient texts, spirit trees, banners, bells and zither, rings, there was nothing she did not have. Dazzling the eyes, Chailing slightly contemplated. Her gaze flit across them one by one, not at all stopping over for too long among these treasures. I say, Chailing, sooner or later there will come a day when this purple firmament palace of yours will become Liangshan's public enemy. A lazy voice came from the purple firmament palace's entrance. Chailing did not stop wandering around. Her fingers played with her blue hair, and her gait was graceful. Kongho, what nonsense do you speak of? Even this palace can only help the needy for justice, take 2 things from this purple firmament palace every phase. If they can do so, this palace actually would be happy to see that. You used help the needy for justice once during the birth outline to lend that man 10 billion. You also want to obtain 2 astral treasures for the sake of that man for the current evil smiting hall phase? Kongho mockingly evaluated. Little whirlwind, are you moved? Chailing's golden thread feather fan covered her red lips, sneering. Kongho, you truly are becoming more and more interesting. Tell the truth. You truly want to go to the evil smiting hall. Kongho showed a serious expression. Chailing knew what she was worrying about. Because of the red ink iron certificate, the noble star was spared from the star duels, but if she were to enter the evil smiting hall, then she could not use the red ink iron certificate. Otherwise, even if she participated in the star duels, rather, in the case that she did participate in the star duels, it seemed her immense wealth was not something Chailing could use. At that time, she inevitably would be all alone in the world. Besides, the red ink iron certificate definitely would become the star weapon that Star Masters wanted to seize. After all, for those that possessed the red ink iron certificate, although they could not prevent death, it could become a death avoidance gold plate to pass through a calamity. With such an enticement, Kongho truly did not believe that in the You Die and I Live star duels, no one would not be moved. I heard you and that man ate the together to hell, but if it were me, I definitely would kill you and take your red ink iron certificate to avoid this disaster. Chailing was pensive, seemingly smiling yet now. Truly brilliant. The queen was silent. She turned around and looked through the magic weapons on the podiums as before. What sort of magic weapons should this palace choose? Seeing you throw yourself into a man's bosom like this truly makes your servant feel heartbroken, ya. Kongho faced upwards and sighed. Chailing did not mind her. She lightly stepped about, glancing at one podium's jewelry. This jewelry consisted of 2 wrist bracelets, a frontlet and 2 leg bracelets. Their designs were inlaid with moons and embedded with stars, beautiful to the extreme. Due to being under a forbid dance, Chailing could not discern the full details, But that gorgeous appearance made Chai Ling quite stirred, seeing that it had stars and moons. Come to think of it, 80% of the things were astral treasures. Thinking more, Chai Ling activated her star crest and saw the star platform for Bidance release. A rich star spirit chi sword. Chai Ling gestured with her hands, and the 5 pieces of jewelry floated. She injected her divine intent, the little whirlwind's eyes glowing. Moon seizing star taking. 3. This palace actually likes it. The 5 decorations scattered, attaching onto Chai Ling's wrists, ankles and forehead. The jewelry's starlight twinkled, flowing light like a river. It made the originally grand noble star appear even more too high to reach. Even Emperor Liang would be slightly inferior. Chai Ling was satisfied, then again went searching for the last astral treasure. At this time, a half-blue and half-red gourd on one of the pedestals suddenly trembled in front of her, as if it was a child calling for Chai Ling. The little whirlwind fixed her eyes upon it for a moment, unable to discern the significance. Evil smiting hall was at hand, and Chai Ling did not wish to bring along a gourd of unknown origins to save her life. Besides, the appearance of the gourd in front her made the graceful Chai Ling truly unfond of it. Her heart vaguely was somewhat uneasy towards this gourd. Glancing at it, Chai Ling then looked to the next podium. Milady, a woman outside the castle calling herself the Thousand Buddha Star Chao Gai is seeking an audience. Yuya walked to the outside of the purple firmament palace, deferentially speaking. Chai Ling and Kong Ho both froze at the same time and looked at each other. The elegant queen seemingly smiled yet did not. Chao Gai. In the end, she still came. Kong Ho was silent. Nevertheless, a slight desire to kill flit across her eyes. The 4 styles solitary path's final path was the scolding wind path, a devastating gale. Everything between heaven and earth was ground to pieces by the astral winds, whooshing. Ordinary artifacts could hardly resist. Even if they could block these violent winds, this was not a path that star cultivators who had gone through 3 paths was capable of crossing. Su Xing slowly stepped in the wind, a green treasure pearl floating high, scattering clear light in all directions. A path was open as if the squall had been cut apart by the clear light, unable to bother Su Xing in the slightest. This wind-settling pearl was a pretty good treasure, as expected. The miserable winds could not approach at all. If this was like normal, even if he could walk out, he would suffer grave consequences. Several hours later, Su Xing walked out of the scolding wind path. The scolding wind path was the end, with an ordinary wilderness of deathly stillness. This wilderness had a spatial transfer array. As long as one stepped into the spatial transfer array, they could leave the 4 styles solitary path. Just as Su Xing was about to leave, Wu Xinjie suddenly called out at this time. "Young lord, please wait a moment." The Su Xing with one foot in grunted. "What's the matter?" "Young lord, do you not feel this 4 styles solitary path is somewhat strange?" Wu Xinjie emerged from the star nest, sinking into contemplation as she gazed into the wilderness. "You mean the extreme environments?" "No. Young lord must have forgotten, but although they call it 4 styles, there actually are 5 styles." Wu Xinjie muttered. The earnestly reflecting knowledge star clearly appeared very charming. Su Xing nodded his head. Earth, wind, thunder, water and fire indeed were the 5 styles, but earth was not within the mainstream. The 4 styles school has 4 peaks, but the main peak, Clear Heart Peak, can be considered earth spirit. However, this 4 styles solitary path nevertheless lacks a spirit. Does young lord not feel this is odd? Wu Xinjie gazed at the wilderness before her. "Xinjie, your meaning is that the 4 styles solitary path actually has 5 paths?" Su Xing was mute. "Precisely." Wu Xinjie originally did not think carefully, but seeing the wilderness in front of her, she had this sort of idea. How sharp the knowledge star seeing clearly was, not at all confused by the 4 styles solitary path's outward appearance of 4 styles. Immediately, she felt there was also a 5th path. But there's nothing special about this wilderness. Su Xing slightly had the same feeling, but besides the being rustic and thick, the wilderness honestly was ordinary compared to the previous 4 paths, not challenging in the least. It is precisely this that it is worth a look. Wu Xinjie giggled. There is something strange about this. Su Xing immediately understood the girl's meaning, inwardly in admiration. Then let's go take a look. Su Xing flew. The wilderness completely lacked forbid dances, and the smell of dirt was dense. It was unknown how many years had passed since this place was cared for. This wilderness was not big. Flying several circles, he spotted a cliff face at the end. It did not have spirit stones like the Silent Path's profound silence crystals, with even demon beasts absent from view, which was very strange. At the end of the wilderness was an upright stele. This stele seemingly was man-made, and upon it were 3 bold ancient characters, Earth Immortal Path. 5. As expected, this place was the 5th path. Compared to the other steles he saw, this stele had an additional ring decorative design. The 4 sides had 4 grooves, each with symbol for wind, thunder, water, and earth. There were also a scale and such, as if it could spin like a roulette. A mechanism. Wu Xinjie could tell from a glance the use of this device, showing pleasant surprise. Su Xing tried to spin the scale, as if he was unlocking it as he aligned the grooves. After all 4 completely opened, he waited for a long time. Yet there was not any sort of change. Many people must have seen this. If it was easily opened, it should already have been opened. It seems this has some other mechanisms. Wu Xinjie muttered. I think so too. Su Xing did not feel the 4-style school's other elders and headmasters would regard this stele as nothing. They must have spent much effort and could not release this mechanism, in the end no longer minding it. Young lord, do you still remember the mutual engenderment and mutual restraint of the 4 styles refining that little sister Lianxin mentioned? Wu Xinjie suddenly said. Earth births water, water births thunder, thunder births fire. Su Xing understood Wu Xinjie's meaning. Use the mutual engenderment and restraint of the 4 spirits to open the mechanism. After waiting expectantly for a while, what made Su Xing very disappointed was that the mechanism was motionless as before. Could it be it actually doesn't have a use, that it's just a decoration? Su Xing was helpless. This makes no sense. In Wu Xinjie's perspective, in the wilderness of deathly stillness, that the concentrated dirt qi also had this nearly neglected Earth Immortal Path stele clearly was a very standard hidden ruin. Su Xing once again tried mutual restraint, as well as other ways. In short, the roulette could spin, but was limited to these ways. Why does the mutual engenderment not have earth? Gong Sun Huang emerged from the star nest, suddenly coming to speak. This wilderness ought to be earth. Wu Xinjie creased her brow. Suddenly, she froze, clapped her hands and laughed. Young lord, try imbuing it with purple cloud and then using the mutual engenderment method. All right. Su Xing gathered purple cloud in his palms and once again pushed the wheel. When he pushed to the first watermark, all of a sudden, that nearly lifeless groove suddenly shot out a ray of blue light. This surprise made Wu Xinjie happy. Su Xing increased his speed, pushing the 4 grooves. The 4 grooves immediately glowed with 4 spirit lights. Immediately afterwards, with a boom, a vortex appeared in the middle. Shockingly, this was a spatial transfer array. It actually opened the mechanism. Su Xing said in admiration. Thanks to little Huang reminding Xinjie. Wu Xinjie happily said. We needed to use earth qi to act as the first condition's mutual engenderment. Truly a complicated mechanism. If it was not for young lord luckily having the purple star transforming qi, there basically was no way to open it. Su Xing deeply held the same feeling. No wonder this ruin could hide for so long and not be a concern to anyone. To use earth-type true qi as the way, the 4 styles that the 4-style school practiced did not have earth. How could they open it? Do you wish to go take a look? Gongsun Huang asked. Looking at that spatial transfer array, Su Xing and Wu Xinjie showed crafty smiles at the same time. The idea went without saying. In the more than 1,000 years of the 4-style school, no one had entered the Earth Immortal Labyrinth. If they did not pay a visit, then how could she be worthy of the name, the Knowledge Star? The background scene changed, and the wilderness became a simple and unadorned hall. This hall was exceptionally enormous, more than 100 mu, with more than 20 flights of stairs. Both ends were densely packed with stone pillars too many to count. The huge hall's center had a single platform with a yellow book suspended above, emitting a blinding brown light. Dense earth chi endlessly poured out from the book, filling such an enormous hall with faint dust. The 100-mu hall had yellow smoke circulating, emitting a sort of extremely old aura, as if he had placed himself into a prehistoric world. What thing unexpectedly would have such great capabilities? Su Xing and Wu Xinjie were each startled, then flew before the yellow book. The yellow book was suffused with an ancient spiritual power, dense and steaming, like a rolling yellow sea. The golden ancient script wandered about like tadpoles, extremely profound. This is the Earth Book of the Five Spirits Law Heavenly Book. Wu Xinjie cried out in surprise. Su Xing was also stunned. The Five Spirits Law Heavenly Books were ancient books, containing the immortal magic powers of heaven and earth and 5 elements. Su Xing also was not unfamiliar, for long ago he had obtained the Blooming Water volume of the Five Spirits Law Heavenly Book to cultivate the Blooming Water Divine Thunder. For this reason he was even able to mix the Purple Mansion Immortal Thunder. Su Xing naturally knew these immortal magics sometimes were slightly more powerful than magic weapons. However, the Five Spirits Law Heavenly Book had been lost for several millennia, and he had not heard of the history of other volumes. This seems to even be a complete Earth book. Wu Xinjie wavered like a candle flame. They saw that this book was several times thicker compared to the Blooming Water volume. Su Xing reached out his hand to take it when an odd change suddenly occurred. That dense rolling and covering yellow qi formed a yellow membrane that blocked Su Xing out. A yellow light condensed on the book's center, forming a beautiful woman with a graceful figure, sharp brows and starry eyes, a jasper nose and supple lips. Her head wore a yellow tiara, and she was draped in a golden thread muslin waistcoat. Her body was garbed in yellow palace dress, and her feet stepped on yellow clouds. Her white hands waved, enveloping the hall with earth spirit qi. True spirit. The group entirely was shocked. The so-called true spirit referred to a magic weapon evolving the sun, moon, stars, heaven, earth and the dual modes to the peak, producing a spiritual nature. It was comparable to a demon beast opening to wisdom and assuming human form. A magic weapon in itself was also capable of transforming into a body of true spirit. However, these true spirit bodies really were not like genuinely transforming into a human. At most, taking human form could let the magic weapon's power increase, and in the case that divine intent was injected, it was incapable of being forcibly captured. Granted that even if the cultivator died, the magic weapon's true spirit also would not entirely disappear. 2. However, the magic weapon true spirit's realm had an extremely great power. That was the cultivator could pour their own divine intent into the true spirit, changing directions into becoming the most magical of Liangshan's mysteries, external incarnation. 3 magic weapons that generated a true spirit nevertheless were extremely few. On one hand, in the case a magic weapon had been imbued with divine intent, even if it gained awareness, prior connections were no longer possible with a true spirit. A few cultivators attempted to not cultivate magic weapons into producing true spirit. Relying on heaven and earth spirit qi to form could also allow magic weapons to reach the true spirit realm, but the required time needed more than 100 years, which was far too long. Currently, the most well-known true spirit magic weapon was Emperor Liang's 72 outer void flying immortal swords. His 72 flying swords already could reach the true spirit realm, becoming the outer heaven fairies. It was precisely by relying on this supreme feat that he became the Azure Dragon Territory's #1. But Emperor Liang's flying sword true qi nevertheless was from comparison to a magic weapon's true spirit. Because flying swords were nurtured with a cultivator's life, producing a true spirit was not a rare thing. The talented often could reach the flying sword true spirit stage at supervoid stage. This Earth book originally was a 5 spirits law heavenly book buried underground in the 4 styles solitary path for unknown years, endlessly sucking in the chi of heaven and earth. Thus, it developed into the true spirit realm, turning from a secret text into a true spirit. How could this Empress 2 Earth book be enjoyed by a mediocre man? The woman's voice was low. Calling itself Empress 2, her eyes were like boulders, imposing and dignified. The true spirit magic weapon already had intelligence. To capture it, The sole method was to defeat the magic weapon's true spirit. Otherwise, they would be killed by the true spirit. Being buried in this underground palace for so long must be lonely. Could it be you do not want to go out and see the world with your servant? Su Xing said. Empress Tu's tone was hard as a rock. Tiny star cultivator, you dare speak conceited nonsense. She shook the golden muslin damask on her body, read an incantation, and stones immediately sprayed out. The heavens were faint and the earth dark, a gale whistled, and all sides had a yellow mist. Extending his hand, Su Xing could not see his fingers. The Empress Tu that emerged from the Earth Book clearly already could use Earth Spirit abilities. Su Xing did not dare be neglectful. He waved the miraculous Bodhi tree in his hand a few times, and clear light and auspicious vapors the size of 100 mu flowed out. Green light flourished, with a myriad of magic clouds, basking all directions in a serene light, battling against Empress Tu's Earth Spirit divine light. Confronting a true spirit, Su Xing did not dare hold back. At the same time, he grabbed onto the four symbols seal. The four holy beasts looked to the sky and cried, directly booming towards Empress Tuesday. Empress Tu expressionlessly raised both her hands, and the yellow cloud spread in every direction, appearing like a gigantic yellow blanket that resisted the four holy beasts. The yellow cloud sunk, and the four holy beasts struggled. Su Xing silently shouted, "How incredible!" For it was just like they were unable to break free of the yellow cloud. He could not help but use all of his star energy. He had used the four holy beasts once before to face Emperor Liang, but he could not use it arbitrarily on spirit treasures with true spirits like this. Using it once required a long period of rest for nurturing. For now hardly 10 days had passed. The true spirit holy beasts of the four symbols seal were exceptionally feeble, and the earth spirit's yellow light rigidly wrapped around them, not budging in the slightest. Gong Sun Huang struck a hand seal, activating several star magics in succession, yet they were stopped outside by Empress Tu's yellow barrier. Such a powerful defense. Wu Xinjia had been repelled several steps, inwardly surprised. The Earth Book's yellow light was completely hard to break open. Su Xing's forehead perspired profusely. Empress Tu then moved her hand, and a yellow sand dragon rolled across the ground, twisting to attack Su Xing. At the same time, Su Xing unleashed Purple Mansion Immortal Thunder and Purple Cloud True Star, but this yellow light was fierce. The purple light flashed and was swallowed whole by the Earth Spirit's chi. Even Emperor Liang would require great effort and time to capture this sort of true spirit magic weapon. Let alone Su Xing, if it was not for relying on several powerful prehistoric spirit weapons, Su Xing basically did not have any chances. However, Su Xing did not want to give up. Retreating 100 meters, he raised a green mountain. The three prehistoric spirit treasures simultaneously attacked, honestly making Su Xing nearly vomit blood. Simply advancing to Galaxy Middle Stage, he was barely able to control them. These three prehistoric spirit treasures were extremely powerful. If a supercluster cultivator used them, to break the Earth Book's defenses was completely nothing difficult. How could Su Xing, with his honestly too low cultivation, only Galaxy Middle Stage? Controlling them was somewhat taxing, much less even mentioning utilizing the spirit treasure's powers. The more superb the cultivator, the fewer the magic weapon abilities he could cultivate in the future. The cause was not himself, but an essence character. A refined and proficient magic weapon often could resist several magic weapons. For yellow lights flew around Empress Tu, too thick and too thin, becoming a light cover that continued to trap the four holy beasts. Then Empress Tu waved, and the yellow sand light flashed, becoming a giant hand. The yellow light was clear, unexpectedly slapping away the green lotus peak, grabbing at Su Xing. With these exchanges, Empress Tu practically was too powerful. The large hand already reached the top of his head. Yet Su Xing did not rush. He made low roar, swallowing 20 immortal water pill dews in succession. His hands flipped through seals, and a purple cloud arose. The immortal thunder in the end obstructed Empress Tu's giant hand of yellow light. The yellow light went wild, and the earth spirit erupted with sand, dirt and dust. Empress Tu stood motionless, her clothes fluttering. The swift and severe attacks gradually waned. The Earth Book inherently was good at defense, so Empress too was without a choice. The yellow barrier was simply tough to the extreme, allowing Su Xing to attack any way he wanted, yet it did not break. Empress too slowly sucked in spirit qi, just like she was preparing the next wave of powers. How could Su Xing let her? He swiped the miraculous Bodhi tree several times. As if it encountered its nemesis, it disappeared without a trace when it fell into the yellow barrier. "Allow me," Gong Sun Huang all of a sudden said flatly. Gong Sun Huang brandished the pine brand ancient sword. Her star crest circulated, and the main hall immediately quaked. As if the heavens were overflowing and the earth was splitting, the main hall rocked. The pervasive earth spirit and yellow qi were just like a gale blew past, rolling away. Dark rank star magic. Half-destroyed landscape. Half-destroyed landscape was one of Leisure Star Gong Sun Huang's extremely powerful lethal star magics. In the case she used it, the heavens fell and the earth rend. The rivers churned and seas overturned. The rivers within 100 mu would drain. Originally, this could even break Emperor Liang's spatial sword array of the outer void flying immortals. In addition, this earth barrier was probably not any stronger than Emperor Liang's sword array, but because this place had earth spirit qi that concentrated for eons, it became this powerful to an abnormal degree. The hall immediately was rocked with a violent earthquake. The Earth Book's yellow barrier swayed like waves of water. They saw half-destroyed landscape was incapable of breaking this Earth Book defense the first time. And Su Xing's heart was dismayed. That yellow light barrier suddenly ripped open with a thin fracture. When Su Xing saw that, he immediately was overjoyed at this unexpected development. Without the slightest hesitation, he called forth the heaven-tearing flying swords. Using the last bit of dragon power in the heaven-tearing flying swords, transforming into a golden dragon that fiercely slashed. This sword also was an immemorial sword chant. It was unexcelled in the world, and it was mainly focused in attacking, splitting the barrier open. Su Xing immediately released Purple Mansion Immortal Thunder and Purple Cloud True Star in succession to attack. Empress too raised her hands, and the earth spirit qi within 100 mu concentrated, like something prehistoric, covering the skies and earth. They saw she was about to restore this earth barrier. Su Xing's expression changed. He knew full well that if she actually repaired the barrier, they would have no way of retrieving any leeway. His heart rocked. He rapidly rushed towards the four symbols seal, striking four hand seals. The four holy beasts roared. Unexpectedly, the true spirit self-destructed. Four rays of light blew apart. Using the power of the holy beast's true spirits, even if they were weak, detonating them together was unknown levels of powerful. The shockwave of the explosion shook apart the earth spirit qi that was concentrating, giving Su Xing a chance to catch his breath. Immediately afterwards, that tear received a violent shock and tore open. Suddenly, the golden swords frantically slashed with a bang. The Earth Book's earth barrier that had been saved since prehistory suddenly shattered. Wu Xinjie was sharp-sighted and deft. She seized this chance to rush forward. When the earth barrier broke, her hand pressed down on the Earth Book, running back to Su Xing's front with it. Su Xing made an effort to support his body that was about to fall, sinking his essence, blood, and divine intent into the Earth Book. The Empress too true spirit of the Earth Book then groaned. Its eyes lost their sharpness, and it slowly disappeared. The yellow light across the whole sky and the concentrated earth qi bared their fangs and claws as they frantically spilled into the Earth Book to mend the damage. Until his own divine intent was thoroughly branded upon this terrifying prehistoric spirit treasure, did Su Xing finally breathe a sigh of relief and fall into Wu Xinjie's bosom. Nearly done for. Young lord, you truly are wonderful. Wu Xinjie whispered and lightly kissed him. Clear Heart Hall, the plaza. Hundreds of the four-style school's disciples whispered as the Taoist master Xiantian and Juyueka were somewhat uneasy. Half of the disciples that went through the experience this time came back. The other half probably had more misfortune than good luck. Now the passage was about to close and still two people had not arrived. As it happened, these two people were extremely important to the four-style school. Su Xing and Yinping Tian. The three great disciples of the Four Styles School looked at each other in dismay. These two could not have battled it out, right? Could it be they met with mishaps at the same time? Zhu Yueka's expression was very gloomy. The plaza was in a heated discussion. Everyone was making guesses, and each person wore a regretful expression. Would he die? The indifferent Tang Lianxin's face was pale, feeling the inside of her heart was suffocating in a panic. The Four Styles solitary path already was incapable of continuing, and the Taoist master Sun Tian was left with no choice but to close it. Please wait, Tang Lianxin strictly said. Everyone present was taken aback, showing odd expressions. The solitary star did not say anything, but her expression was abnormally resolute, believing a certain someone would return. Silence. There was another moment, and the heads of the four spirit peaks already were incapable of sustaining. Everyone sighed. Tang Lianxin suddenly felt her heart was somewhat in anguish. Just at this moment, a figure appeared in another spatial transfer array. That figure was so feeble, as if he had went through a great battle of life and death. His energy so exhausted that he even made people doubt that he could still walk. But still he walked out, wearing a fearless smile. I have returned. Was Su Xing. Before Zhu Yueka could say anything, a beautiful figure flew straight to Su Xing. Everyone was shocked. Su Xing was stunned. Seeing Tang Lianxin's worried expression, the man's heart was warm, and he spread his face into a smile. His expression was weak, his smile firm. Little sister Lianxin, are you willing to live and die together with me? Tang Lianxin's heart stirred. Only feeling her eyes were dry and heavy. Suddenly, she closed her eyes and kissed Su Xing's lips. The two of them tightly deep-kissed. The silence at this moment conveyed more feeling than any words spoken. A star crest appeared on each other, and a crimson star immediately sparkled above Liangshan, shocking the Four Styles. Boulder armor, heaven-suppressing stillness hand. 2 and earth spirit sword form. 3 the bedroom of the bamboo house. Su Xing's hands held up the earth book, flipping through the pages to look at the immortal magic recorded within this earth book. This earth book was worthy of being called one of Liangshan's rarely seen abnormal magic weapons. Not only did it record abilities and cultivation methods, it also had use in arming the underdog. Upon opening the earth book, dense earth qi rose and wafted, enveloping him within. When Su Xing learned the purple star transforming qi, he just happened to lack usage of the immortal magic. Now this earth book was just perfect to make up for that regret. The earth element immortal magic recorded in the book was very formidable. The boulder armor was able to allow the purple cloud to cover his upper body and transform into a defensive type armor. It was slightly more powerful than the already damaged golden thread fish scale armor. The heaven-suppressing stillness hand had qi become a giant hand, easily grabbing hold of cultivators, heavily overturning the seas and shifting the mountains. It was an incredible ability. Furthermore, the whatever earth spirit sword form and earth stabbing arts were pretty good abilities in a fight. What a pity. For the sake of this book, young lord damaged the 4 symbols seal, and flying swords, the green lotus peak too. Wu Xinjie said regretfully. The true spirits of the 4 symbols seal's 4 holy beasts had self-destructed. For the 4 symbols seal to once again recover required at least several months' time. Now that evil smiting hall was imminent, this was not a small regret. It is impossible to be completely successful in everything. Su Xing smiled. He did not mind at all. Although the 4 symbols seal was great, it did not have the earth book's mystery. Possessing this book, even if he was to once again face Chao Gai, Su Xing had a bit of confidence. Wu Xinjie had wanted to say more. At this time, she sensed someone was entering, so she entered the star nest. Su Xing also put away the earth book. How could he easily reveal this level of treasure to anyone? Zhu Yueka wore a crescent moon white shirt, delicately entering the room. Seeing Su Xing, she showed a slight smile. How are your injuries? Many thanks for master's concern, not at all a big hindrance. In actuality, after Su Xing and Tang Lianxin signed a star dual covenant, he had already recovered to his previous state. It was just that Zhu Yueka was not put at ease that she had Su Xing first return to the room to recuperate. This is good. Zhu Yueka smiled, glancing with a very deep meaning at the expressionless Tang Lianxin at the side. She beckoned with her hand to make her sit nearby. Pausing for a moment, Zhu Yueka then said, Su Xing Lianxin, now that you two have already signed a star duel covenant, this is a very important matter for the Four Styles School. The entire school will support you with all its strength. Although Evil Smiting Hall is about to open, you must not lose heart. Disciple definitely will not disgrace the mission. Su Xing replied very earnestly. This was not because Zhu Yueka thought those sorts of words upon his lips were pleasant to hear. For the sake of the 7 beauties he thought of, he must take hold of these star duels. Zhu Tuk felt gratified, and then she discussed the Four Styles School's arrangements with Su Xing and Tang Lianxin. Tang Lianxin, using the KISS contract to sign onto the star duels, overturned the heavens for the Four Styles School. This type of matter had only been heard of, never seen, and it made the whole school's enthusiasm surge. It was just that the school could not participate in the thing. In sword chants, arrays, spirit stones and such, they would use all their power to support Su Xing. They would do all they could to make Su Xing become one of the final 7 stars. Su Xing, Master wants to ask you question. Zhu Yueka suddenly said. Master, please ask. Your senior brother Yinpeng Tian, you two must have had something happen? Zhu Yueka feared Su Xing had a misunderstanding. She lightly smiled. There is no need for you to have misgivings. Now that you are the Four Styles School's star master, no one will blame you. Master, you are just wrongly blaming disciple. Su Xing cried out loud at the injustice. He really did not encounter that most promising potential star master Yinpeng Tian. Of course, even if they did truly run into one another, Su Xing would at best only beat him into scrambling back home. And neither did he have interest in taking his life. Master believes you. Zhu Yueka nodded. Yinpeng Tian not leaving the Four Styles solitary path had aroused very big waves in the Four Styles School. After all, Yinpeng Tian was but one of the 4 great disciples. Ever since he was little, he had been raised to be a star master, consuming countless spirit pills and liquids. His talent was outstanding, and after the star duels began, he reached galaxy middle stage. It could be said that he was the Four Styles School's hard work, but in this experience, no one had thought Yinpeng Tian would unexpectedly not appear. Furthermore, Su Xing in the end was like he had exhausted his energy. Everyone naturally thought the two had engaged each other inside. Senior sisters Tsong Wanji and Ruan Hongxue actually supported that you did not strike treacherously, you know. Zhu Yueka smiled as she asked. Su Xing smiled. That Tsong Wanji would believe him was not surprising. But for that Ruan Hongxue to not kick a person who was down was actually unforeseen. However, Yinpeng Tian had practiced his cultivation ever since he was small, yet he never cultivated abilities, so although his cultivation was high, he nevertheless was just a gilded exterior. Master feels he has met with a mishap. Zhu Yueka flatly said. Su Xing was mute, inwardly calling out that this truly was a pity. Before he was formidable and mighty, yet in the end, he nevertheless was scattered ash and smoke. To waste their efforts had even helped him obtain a name, truly a waste. Zhu Yueka also spoke of some of the other affairs of the star duels, even asking Tang Lianxin the materials she needed to upgrade her star weapon. Tang Lianxin's Great Void Gold Lotus unexpectedly was 1 star and unupgraded. In the star duels, people everywhere understood one logic. The higher the level of a star weapon, the greater its dominance. Starting from a 5-star destined weapon, they practically reached a realm that Liangshan continent's cultivators could only gaze from behind. The Four Styles School was a tool refinement great sect. For the sake of the star duels, they had stockpiled many materials, for this was the greatest advantage of the school's star master. Zhu Yueka also guaranteed that they would not make Tang Lianxin feel wronged. Right, these things are given to you for use in the star duels. Finally Zhu Yueka waved her hand. 5 items appeared. A palace dress, a jade hairpin, a set of silver armor, a folded talisman, and a silver flying knife. The entire Four Styles School bestows these upon you for use in the star duels. The 7 stars Nikhang and falling star hairpin are for Lianxin to use. Star generals can use 2 astral treasures, so they are perfect to give you. This 7 stars Nikhang can defend against blades, exorcise miasma, and it can confuse an earthly fiend astral treasure. The falling star hairpin is a pretty good offensive astral treasure. Ju Yueka introduced them. The heavenly silkworm snow silver armor 5 can protect you from injury. This is the 4 styles high-grade talisman capable of releasing the 4 magics of wind, thunder, water and fire. This soul-breaking sword 6 is incapable of cutting flesh, but it can break divine intent. Seeing Ju Yueka's introductions, Su Xing was very surprised. It seemed that the 4 styles school indeed gave a lot of thought to this. Although Su Xing currently could not possibly take a fancy to these, the average star cultivator absolutely would find these helpful items. Su Xing thanked her once again. Ju Yueka slightly smiled, only instructing for Tang Lianxin to upgrade her star weapon, and no longer bothered them. For matters like the star duels, if the sect interfered too much, Maiden Mountain would be dissatisfied. This 4 styles school truly has taken a lot of trouble. The knowledge star said. And a star master with a sect's support is not the same. Su Xing sighed. Wu Xinjie giggled. Young lord, seriously. With young lord's current powers, how could the other star master be this formidable? Xinjie feels that just the great Saint Star Killer would be more troublesome. Discussing the great Saint Star Killer, Su Xing also had the same feelings. A super prehistoric spirit treasure, the Boundless Bell, and a flying sword ability originating from the Black Turtle Territory's Devil Palace, and not inferior to the heavenly spirit earthly fiend Purple Star 5-element sword. Anyway he was examined, he was an abnormal character, far more formidable than that holy lord of draconic demon. Recalling this, Su Xing remembered that he had best forge the wood element sword as soon as possible. Now that his metal element sword needed nurturing, and was incapable of further use, the top priority was to quickly produce the wood sword. For the difference of whether or not a star cultivator had a flying sword, the gap in strength honestly was too big. Su Xing certainly was fully aware of this. Little sister Lianxin, big brother fears there is something else he needs to trouble you with. Su Xing apologetically said. Tang Lianxin asked. Is it the flying sword? Exactly. Su Xing explained the matter of the 10,000-year evil-suppressing gem bamboo. Refining the flying sword materials by Tang Lianxin's methods could not be more suitable. 10,000-year evil-suppressing gem bamboo? Tang Lianxin showed shock. As a tool refinement master, she naturally knew the valiance of this item. Elder brother, how do you have such a divine item? That's a long story. In short, this is the way things are. Su Xing laughed. Tang Lianxin nodded. Right, little sister, can you refine an astral treasure from this Nuwa jade? Su Xing moved his hand and brought out this Nuwa jade. Its significance could not be discerned, but it should be quite powerful. However, Su Xing currently could not take a liking to any galaxy magic weapon. He thought that since ancient lost treasures could be refined into magic weapons, he wondered whether or not she could refine an astral treasure for the girls to use. Nuwa jade. Tang Lianxin was slightly shocked. She pondered, then replied. A lost treasure can be refined into an astral treasure, but that requires some materials to assist. What materials? Galaxy sand and such. Alright, I'll just go to Kagoshima to take a look. The wood element sword just so happens to also lack a few materials, and the Putua purple bamboo sand. I might as well also buy those. Su Xing's teeth hurt. Suddenly discovering this was a very large expenditure. Borrowing more from Chai Ling was embarrassing, and he actually could take those 100-year evil-suppressing gem bamboo to exchange. Come to think of it, he could trade. All right. Tang Lianxin agreed. Still a reclusive and not wanting to discuss things' appearance. Su Xing doubted that the passion Tang Lianxin leaked when they signed a contract was an illusion. Evil Smiting Hall was on the verge of opening, and there was no time to lose. Tang Lianxin would go upgrade her star weapon and refine the evil-suppressing gem bamboo. Su Xing would go to Kagoshima to buy every sort of material required for the flying sword. He had just walked out the door. He suddenly recalled he still needed to return Ruan Hongshue's wind-settling pearl and Fire Dragon whip. Su Xing first went to Fire Cloud Peak. Fire Cloud Peak's temperature was very hot, enveloped in red clouds, which is how it gained the name Fire Cloud. Fire Cloud Peak's disciples cultivated fire-type cultivation methods, and they were accustomed to this blistering heat. When Su Xing went to Fire Cloud Peak, those disciples that once bickered with Su Xing gazed at him with reverence and respect. Their expressions were complex, with envy, jealousy, mockery, disdain, 100 attitudes, everything in between. Su Xing was disinclined to mind them. If they welcomed him with a smile, he returned a smile. If they welcomed him with disdain, then he returned with disdain. Junior brother Su Xing, why have you come to Fire Cloud Peak? Jiao Shu laughed when he spotted Su Xing. Su Xing's impression of him was pretty good, and he also smiled. I came to find Ruan Hongxue, to return things to her. Little sister is currently. Jiao Shu was just about to reply. A cold snort interjected. Su Xing, come over here yourself. The two of them turned their heads. Ruan Hongxue grunted, walking to a remote corner. This is your fire dragon whip and wind settling pearl. I am returning them. Many thanks for your wind settling pearl. Su Xing looked at Ruan Hongxue, not saying much, retuning her things. Ruan Hongxue did not rush at all to receive them, rather she twisted her brow and asked, You honestly tell me, did you kill senior brother Yin Pengtian? What would I kill him for? Su Xing could not help laughing. You truly did not kill him? Ruan Hongxue stared. Su Xing twitched his lips, disdainful. Ruan Hongxue said in a soft voice. Although you are a very loathsome person, you are not bad either. I believe you. What do I care if you believe me or not? Su Xing returned her things. I still have other matters, so I'll be leaving first. Wait a moment. Ruan Hongxue called out. Su Xing turned his head, wrinkled his brow. What is this little girl doing? This wind settling pearl. Just take it as a gift for you for the star duels. Ruan Hongxue shyly blushed and said. Gift me. Su Xing's expression was odd. This wind-settling pearl was certainly a powerful magic weapon, perhaps the magic weapon that Ruan Hongxue was most proud of. He naturally did not believe the girl cultivated it in the silent path. You're not planning something, right? This young lady cannot gift it to you? Ruan Hongxue angrily curled her lips. This young lady certainly does not wish to see you completely lose the Four Styles School's face. Umph. She snatched the fire dragon whip, and Ruan Hongxue immediately stomped off, leaving behind a confused Su Xing where he was. Ruan Hongxue really is weird. Su Xing was not a modest person. It could not be said for certain whether the wind-settling bead would have a surprise use in the future. Another means was another opportunity. This logic he still understood. Wu Xinjie tried to stifle a laugh. Is young lord pretending to be confused? Hey Xinjie. Why does your tone sound like she's taken a fancy to me? I've done nothing to her at all. Su Xing promptly denied any relationship. He had not the slightest bit of interest in Sundara women. In actuality, how could Su Xing have known that this wind-settling pearl indeed was Ruan Hongxue's extremely previous item? When she originally lent it to Su Xing and said she picked it up from the silent path, she had only suddenly thought of fooling him, to observe how he would react. According to Ruan Hongxue's mind, the wind-settling pearl was a prehistoric spirit treasure, priceless. Any star cultivator that saw it would not be unmoved. Hence, she misled Su Xing with picked up in the silent path, because she wanted to know whether or not Su Xing would return the wind-settling pearl to her after he returned. If ordinary cultivators heard Ruan Hongxue's words, 8 or 9 out of 10 would take it for themselves. Since you picked it up, even if we actually took it for ourselves, you would have no choice. Ruan Hongxue actually hoped Su Xing would truly do this. On one hand, this was good for shattering the image of Su Xing being a life-saving benefactor. On the other, she just so happened to be able to take revenge on Su Xing, to give him a bad reputation in the Four Styles School. But she had not anticipated that not long after, Su Xing would then come to Fire Cloud Peak. Moreover, that he was hardly reluctant to return the wind-settling pearl. This truly infuriated Ruan Hongxue to gnashing her teeth. Nevertheless, she had a favorable impression within. This wind-settling pearl was not too useful to Ruan Hongxue, and it was for this reason that she wanted to give it to Su Xing, which counted as a completed transaction. How could Su Xing bother to go wondering about why Ruan Hongshue's mood was so complicated? He currently had many prehistoric spirit treasures, and he had also obtained the Empress Two-Earth book, so he naturally disdained to go blackmail this sort of thing. Seeing that Ruan Hongshue's attitude shifted, Su Xing only took it to be that saving a life was more meritorious than building a 7-story pagoda. He then flew on his riding sword for Kagoshima, in order to gather the materials for his flying sword. Kagoshima Market Square was a surging tide of people as before. The star cultivators seemingly were even more numerous, and among them were many sect cultivators. Su Xing felt this market square truly was pretty good, saving him a lot of time. Lowering the flying sword, Wu Xinjie and Gong Sun Huang had long left the star nest and followed along his left and right. Su Xing did not want to tarry, directly traveling to the Spirit Sand District. Walking into a Mount Putuo store, Su Xing found Putuo purple bamboo sand. 2. This sort of Putuo purple bamboo sand was extremely expensive. 1 liang was more than 10 million. Su Xing fully exhibited his skill at haggling prices, using a stock of 100-year evil-suppressing gem bamboo to barter, acting as a very professional and virtuous robber. This was something that Shi Yuan obtained in the amidst all the chaos at Heavenly Gem Valley. Not that Heavenly Hem Valley had already become a thing of the past. The evil-suppressing gem bamboo truly was extinct in Liangshan, but the cultivators of Mount Putuo honestly was lacking in discerning power, considering the age of 100-year evil-suppressing gem bamboo too low. No matter what, he was unwilling to exchange 242 liang of Putuo purple bamboo sand, making Su Xing gloomy. A young girl walked on the streets of Kagoshima. The young girl was very charming, the tender age of 18 or 19. She wore a snow-white palace dress and was draped in a blue muslin shirt, clean and elegant. At first glance, she was a character like the Lingbo fairy, her appearance pure and holy, dignified and soldierly, making people not look straight at her, unable to rouse blasphemous intentions in their hearts. The girl leisurely looked along the street. Beside the girl was another girl, adorned in a light yellow long skirt, a white snowdrift waistcoat. Her thin hair was distinctly layered, cute like running waters on a tall mountain. A night pearl hung, binding her long, flowing hair. This girl's skin was beautifully white, appearing refined. Her innate beauty was that of a budding beauty. Longnu, 3. That frontlet is so fast. Oh, and this too, astral tool. The eyes of the girl in the light yellow long skirt released light. Her temper was very lively as she ran circles around the store. The girl called Longnu wore a very gentle smile, feeling very helpless at her partner's behavior. Mengrui, this thing is certainly not worth a mention in the palace. Mengrui doesn't like the inside of the palace, it's too constraining. Mengrui likes this way better, when things are wide as the sky. Mengrui's eyes were incomparably tender. On the street, she spread wide her arms, as if she wanted to hug the sky. Everyone watched odd gazes, keeping far away, believing they had encountered an abnormal nut job. Longnu was helpless, knowing that Mengrui's natural disposition liked to be free and unconstrained. She whispered, "Being with me is actually a grievance against you, Mengrui." "Not at all." Mengrui flipped her hair, smiling sincerely without the least bit of complaint. Mengrui can only be together with Longnu. No matter the place, Mengrui will always feel it's very vast. Longnu smiled. But why would Longuwant come take a look here? Could the reason be because of Mengrui? Mengrui ran to her side, slightly lowered her body. She blinked, a very expectant appearance. "Your star weapon is about to advance to 4-star. I am helping you search, and I also want to look at this place. I hear these sakura are like snow, a beautiful scene in Kagoshima." Longnu said. "Oh." Passing by a Mount Putuo shop, suddenly Longnu cast a glance, taking note of a stalk of bamboo, showing an odd expression. "Longu." Mengrui followed Longu's line of sight, and saw a man in the store currently was discussing something with the cultivator inside the store. Mengrui was confused. Longnu walked inside. "Call your shopkeeper over. How can the value of 100-year evil-suppressing gem bamboo be this little?" Su Xing said gloomily. 150 liang of Putuo purple bamboo sand is already a lot, fellow. The female cultivator respectfully said. Searching all over Kagoshima, only the Putua Hall had amounts of Putua purple bamboo sand sufficient enough to satisfy Su Xing, but 185 liang clearly was inadequate. Although the 100-year evil-suppressing gem bamboo was not extinct, it was rare. Besides, the quantity of Su Xing's stock was even very large. Exchanging for 2 or 3 liang was absolutely not a problem. This female cultivator evidently discerned Su Xing required large amounts of Putua purple bamboo sand that she dared to be this low. Across all of Kagoshima, to be able to supply several hundred liang, there was only this shop. Truly, this was the stereotypical, the strong has the advantage. Su Xing was depressed. If he went to other stores to exchange, he definitely could not do so, but the price was lowered by a half. How could Su Xing be so willing? 150 liang. For a store like Mount Putua to be so overbearing, conducting business in this way, is that appropriate? A somewhat displeased voice interrupted the negotiations between Su Xing and the female cultivator. Everyone turned their gazes, only seeing 2 beauties enter the store. One was a dignified and pure, the other innocent and gentle, both beauties. Seeing that each and every one of their moments was out of the ordinary, Su Xing felt the birth treasure outline in his astral bag resonate. His heart was startled. The birth treasure outline was capable of sensing star generals. Obviously, among one of these 2 girls was one star general, or both were. 100-year evil-suppressing gem bamboo, huh? This certainly is a good thing. How do you get it? Meng Rui showed an expression of admiration as she looked at that strip of bamboo. What are you saying? Transactions naturally are mutually consented to. The female cultivator forced a smile. Long Nu indifferently glanced at her, not minding her. Rather, she gazed at Su Xing, her limpid pupils cycling through Su Xing, Gong Sunhuang and Wu Xinjia. Finally, her gaze fell onto Su Xing, and she smiled. This fellow, I feel that this Mount Putua sees fellow's urgent need for a large quantity of Putua purple bamboo sand that it would deliberately lower prices. She spoke very directly, making the Mount Putua cultivator somewhat not too slightly. Su Xing smiled, his first impressions of this girl actually not bad. But there is no helping it. Only this place can exchange for this much purple bamboo sand. Heavenly Gem Valley has been destroyed. Now evil-suppressing gem bamboo is increasingly precious. For fellow to exchange like this is actually a pity. Long Nu said. What do you mean? Su Xing heard the meaning behind her words. The Treasure Feast 6 of the Crystal Dragon Palace will be convened not too long from now. Fellow, why not bring this evil-suppressing gem bamboo to the Treasure Feast? You certainly can exchange for an even better thing, far more precious than several hundred liang of Putua purple bamboo sand. Long Nu said. Treasure Feast. Su Xing heard about it before. Liangshan's top banquet. A banquet the entire Azure Dragon territory went wild for. Some especially valuable treasures often would appear. My 100 years evil-suppressing gem bamboo perhaps cannot be put on the table, let alone that I do not have the Crystal Dragon Palace's invitation letter. Su Xing spoke forthrightly. Although the treasure banquet was good, to enter without a bit of status was not possible. Long Nu nodded, suddenly pulling a smile. A crystal token appeared in her hand. If fellow is interested, I can introduce fellow into the treasure banquet. Wu Xinjia was hoarse the moment she saw that token. Unexpectedly, it was the Crystal Dragon Palace's invitation plate. Gazing at the girl in front of them, the Knowledge Star's eyes carried thoughtfulness. Seeing that token, the Mount Putua female cultivator was also startled. Glancing at each other, she immediately whispered some instructions. They saw a female cultivator quickly walk in. Then thanks. Su Xing took the token. In his hand it was soft, yet also like glass. You must properly cherish the opportunity. Long Nu certainly thinks very highly of your things, haha. Meng Rui sized up Su Xing, showing a giggling expression. Your servant is Su Xing. Su Xing announced his name. You can call me Long Nu. Long Nu had originally wanted to find an alias, but since Meng Rui already said as such, she did not hide. Long Nu. This name actually was odd. Is it this young lord that wishes to exchange for Putua purple bamboo sand? Suddenly, A charming voice interrupted Su Xing. Su Xing turned his head, spotting a woman with a lovely smile. Clearly, she was the shopkeeper. Su Xing nodded, just about to say something. How could he have expected that shopkeeper's eyes would shine as if she saw treasure when she looked at the evil-suppressing gem bamboo? Completely unlike the female cultivator just now. She shouted and scolded. Still, you have not quickly given the young lord an apology. Can this sort of thing be exchanged for 150 liang? Sorry, the female cultivator apologetically said. This means. Su Xing smiled. His counterpart nodded. A disciple cupped her hands and passed over an embroidered box. There was purple-colored spirit sand, with a bamboo-like fragrance. This is 300 liang of Putuo purple bamboo sand. If young lord is willing to exchange, this store will exchange right now. Any surplus can be taken as an apology. The woman was all smiles as she spoke. Although she said as such, her gaze nevertheless occasionally glanced at Longnu. Su Xing clearly understood. It seemed the status of this Longnu was apparently very formidable, unexpectedly bringing a 180-degree change. Thanks. Su Xing nodded, exchanging the evil-suppressing gem bamboo without the slightest hesitation. Your Highness Longnu, do you require anything? The woman respectfully said. It is best to leave a line when conducting business. Longnu serenely said. As Your Highness Longnu says. The woman nodded. Su Xing secretly wondered. Could it be that this young girl was from the legendary Crystal Dragon Palace? Next time, your servant certainly will go pay a visit to the treasure feast. Su Xing cupped his hands. And farewell. Longnu slightly bowed, her etiquette proper. Turning around, her figure was graceful, dignified and fitting. Is this Longnu the Crystal Dragon Palace's Star Master? Su Xing creased his brow, somewhat unwilling to accept this fact. Observing with seeing clearly, her cultivation unexpectedly was at supercluster early stage, an ancestor-level cultivation, honestly inconceivable. Perhaps the Xiezhen Yuan and Yan Wudao claimed to be stunning beyond compare also were merely so. Pity that he was unable to use the birth treasure outline, otherwise he could see what star maiden that Mingrui was. She is unmistakably the Crystal Dragon Palace's, but whether or not she is a star master is unclear. Wu Xinjie had no way of being certain. Anyway it was put, Kagoshima Market Square was the Crystal Dragon Palace's jurisdiction. To make the Mount Putuo shopkeeper be reverent and fearful, only the local boss could accomplish this. But if she was a star master, the supercluster early stage cultivation also made Wu Xinjie speechless. Currently, the Azure Dragon Territory's three great star masters, Xiezhen Yuan, Yan Wudao and Zhao Hanyan should be attacking supercluster stage cultivation, especially when the Ling Yan princess possessed the purple star jade pendant. She should be the first to be able to break through to supercluster ancestral master level of cultivation, but at the minimum, that needed the third phase to end. They had never heard of the Longnu before them, and that she unexpectedly broken through to supercluster stage honestly was unimaginable. Wu Xinjie immediately thought, it was the Crystal Dragon Palace that was also known as the treasure of the realm. They even had legendary extinct spirit medicines the likes of the Thousand-Year Tears and Water Phoenix Crystal Marrow. If they truly did not spare effort to nurture a Star Master's talent, this actually would not be a difficult problem. The Crystal Dragon Palace and Purple Firmament Immortal Palace of Liangshan Continent's three palaces always hid their tracks, not appearing in public. Even if it was the most important birth treasure outline, they also did not care for it. These types of secretive sects were perhaps the largest variables in the star duels, especially the latter Purple Firmament Immortal Palace which had once turned out a previous overlord. Sects like this maybe would calculate even more in the star duels. Now that the Longnu before them unexpectedly had this sort of cultivation, that Purple Firmament Immortal Palace that once produced an overlord was actually at this stage, and recalling that the Devil Star Palace also had a great Saint Star Killer, he could not be careless in these star duels. The Crystal Dragon Palace is somewhat interesting. Su Xing pondered. He tossed crystal plate, then caught it in his hand. We had better first go collect the materials. Yes. And Suwen's white hands softly rocked. Several droplets of meticulously refined 10-year tears of Empress Wa dripped into the evil-suppressing gem bamboo. A kind of milky aroma sunk into the bamboo. The evil-suppressing clear light was increasingly sparkling, the evil-suppressing cloud marks flickering more, as if clear and peaceful bamboo scent enveloped the void immortal's abode in harmony. Success. Spending several billions worth of assets finally induced the last 10 years of growth for the 10,000-year evil-suppressing gem bamboo. And Suan thoroughly stretched and exhaled, wiping the fragrant sweat from her brow. Elder sister truly is very incredible. Shi Yuan nearby said in admiration. This is Suan's duty, nothing more. And Suan smiled. Little sister Yuaner, how is your 5 poisons banner refining? And almost there. This young lady recently was researching the 5 poisons banner array Su Xing gave. Using puppets to make the array actually has problems. However, even if there are problems, this young lady will keep going. HM. Shi Yuan tugged her sleeves and said. The space broke open. Lin Yingmei and Yan Yizhen entered the immortal's abode. Sister Yingmei, sister little E. The 2 girls lively called out. Shi Yuan jogged over. How are the 2 elder sisters' star weapons? And Lin Yingmei nodded. Clearly, there were no problems. Has young master not yet returned? Lin Yingmei asked. He is probably on a honeymoon with little sister Lianxin. Shi Yuan stifled a laugh. Lin Yingmei's eyes had an unrelieved worry. And Suan gently said. Is sister Yingmei worried about big brother's calamity? Lin Yingmei slightly nodded her head. But she also knew that worry was unnecessary. Given Su Xing's personality, the more Chao Gai hindered him, the more he would not yield, as if he could support the heavens by himself if they were to fall. Thinking to this, Lin Yingmei herself was not aware the corner of her mouth had curled. Space again rocked. All of the girls turned their heads, believing Su Xing had returned, but when they saw who came, Lin Yingmei and Yan Yizhen's eyes sunk. Immediately they assumed attack stances, their star weapons appearing in their hands, their offensives fully ready. The pagoda-shifting heavenly King Chao Gai slightly smiled, not arrogantly yet seemingly so. This one has only come to see you. Then we truly thank you for your troubles. A cold laugh charged through the immortal's abode. Chao Gai turned her head. Su Xing, Wu Xinjie and Gong Sun Huang had already appeared. The Su Xing who spoke stared at Chao Gai, his tone unamused. The meditative mind lotus flower, have you bloomed it? Chao Gai said. You did not have to go to the trouble. The meditative mind lotus flower had manifested signs of withering. Su Xing always was using his sea of consciousness to control it, which actually was considered steady. What, still waiting? Evil Smiting Hall will start after 7 days, and will last for a time of 3 months. Afterwards, all star generals will become complete stars. At that time, if you still persist in the wrong ways, you shall regret it. This one came this time to remind you. The more star generals you have, the greater your disadvantage. Chao Gai's words made Lin Yingmei angered. Her spear stabbed directly, a cold light flowing. Su Xing used the heaven-suppressing stillness hand without the slightest hesitation. A large hand of purple cloud slapping down. The heaven-earth dark yellow thousand pagoda rose and broke up the attacks. In your eyes, could it be your sisters are all tools? Su Xing coldly said. Chao Gai said. There is no need to get angry. Sooner or later, you will know this one's labors. Su Xing stuck out his middle finger. Although she could not make sense of this gesture, Chao Gai's heart still had an indescribable anger. Humph. If you cannot pass even the calamity this one conferred, then how can you say that big talk of confronting Maiden Mountain? You are on your own. Chao Gai glanced at Su Xing, turned around and left. As it turned out, the void immortal's abode cracked, and Tang Lianxin appeared. Seeing Chao Gai, Tang Lianxin showed a shocked expression. Chao Gai did not say anything more, her figure dissolving into light and scattering. Elder brother, was that Chao Gai? Tang Lianxin asked. Precisely Chao Gai. That she came to this place, could it be? No need to mind her. So long as I, Su Xing, still have one breath, I will never allow you all to suffer harm. Su Xing solemnly said. Wu Xinjie broke into laughter. How can the sisters endure what young lord said? Su Xing laughed. Passing through this incident, the originally uneasy mood of the immortal's abode was unintentionally ended. Returning to relaxation, the grim form still did not easily relax. Su Xing asked the Four Styles School to help with the matter of Tang Lianxin's star weapon. By the time the solitary star manifested the great void golden lotus, it would make everyone dumbstruck. Golden lotuses filled the sky, with 4 stars brilliantly glittering. A 4-star star weapon so incredible. And Suwen cried out in surprise. I also did not think it would be this quick. Tang Lianxin herself also did not foresee she could advance her star weapon to 4-star within a single day. This speed practically was soaring into the sky with a single flap. Ju Yueka said she would not allow Tang Lianxin to feel wronged, but she never expected there would be such a pleasant surprise. Carefully thinking, this actually was a matter of course. The Four Styles School was Liangshan's peak tool refinement great sect. Even if it was in decline, its capital was very ample. Star weapon upgrade materials all were very rare. However, Tang Lianxin was an earthly star, and was a tool refinement star general. Her star weapon upgrades were far from being as demanding as the other star generals. An earthly star's 4-star star weapon, however, still required 16 pieces of treasure stone and 80 liang of spirit sand. For this little amount of items, the Four Styles School still could bring these out. Ingmei, are you still missing anything? Su Xing asked. Your servant will refine to 3-star later. Lin Ingmei said. The materials were complete, but compared to the solitary star's 4-star, the majestic star's 3-star perhaps would make the girl even more worthy of envy. She was a heavenly star, a martial 4-star general in particular. This type of star general always was extremely difficult. Across all of the current phase, 3-star was top ranking. Is this profound silence crystal any use to you? Su Xing took out the profound silence crystal he found in the silent path. Lin Ingmei was stunned. Your servant requires 48 pieces of profound silence crystal to refine the 5-star star weapon. Carefully counting, there were 52 pieces of profound silence crystal. With this, as long as she upgraded to 4-star, Lin Ingmei's 5-star was at hand. Young master, how did you obtain this? From what Lin Ingmei knew, profound silence crystal was very rare. Luck. Su Xing summarized the events, somewhat regretfully looking at Little E and the rest of the beautiful girls. Little E, your 3-star will need to wait a few days. Little Huang, Xinjie, Suwen Yuaner, your 3 stars maybe will need to be put off. Due to the recently cultivated 1,000-year tears, as well as refining the flying sword and such, Su Xing also had enormous expenses. The ores and spirit medicines he should exchange nearly left him strapped for cash. If it was not for Yuaner settling the puppet wood essence by herself, even the forging of the 5 poisons puppet would become a problem. All of the girls smiled. Big brother, there is no need to worry. Leaving the star weapons to elder sisters Ingmei, Little E and Little Huang will be enough. And Suwen said, yes, upgrading or not upgrading our star weapons really does not matter. Wu Xinjie grabbed Su Xing's arm, giggling. Star weapon upgrades are somewhat of self-respect. Su Xing shook his head. The beauties were delighted. It turned out their young master still was quite vain. In actuality, Su Xing also was aware that star weapon upgrades was not necessarily a reason to sign a contract. Very often, star masters would help star generals gather every kind of material, especially closer to the end when star weapon materials were increasingly exceeding hundreds of pieces of stones and ores, even possibly scouring the skies of Liangshan. One person by himself gathering all of these in the end was too difficult. Since the girls cared about him, Su Xing naturally did not want to disappoint the beauties. Right now, the top priority is that we had better help young lord refine the flying sword. Wu Xinjie chuckled. Lianxin, how much time is required to refine the 10,000-year evil-suppressing gem bamboo into material for 12 flying swords? 3 days. Tang Lianxin responded. 3 days. An evil-smiting hall will begin in 7 days, perfect. Sisters, for these 7 days, we shall carefully plan the matters of the star beasts, so as to avoid making young lord flustered. Wu Xinjie winked. Are we not going to the far west Buddha kingdom? Little Li opened her mouth, doubtfully saying. Compared to evil smiting Hall, Su Xing's meditative mind lotus flower was even more worthy of worry. 1 month at the minimum is not a problem at all. Su Xing said. And Xinjie and young lord have talked this over. After a month will be the Swirling Kingdom's grand feast of all souls. 2 At that time, 10,000 Buddhas will speak of the classics, which is the perfect opportunity to hurry over, a help to young lord's meditative mind lotus flower. Wu Xinjie explained. Su Xing nodded his head. Since even the knowledge star said as such, everyone did not have opposing ideas. So the evil smiting hall has 3 months, but we need to settle everything within 1 month. Wu Xinjie seriously said. For the sake of young lord, the sisters must think clearly. All of the girls' faces were grim, gravely nodding their heads. Then they discussed the concrete details of the plan for the next 7 days. Lin Yingmei then suddenly found a problem. We arranged to meet Xiao after 2 months. Now that things have changed, does that mean Xiao cannot go to Evil Smiting Hall? This cannot be helped. Perhaps we can introduce Xiao to Chai Ling? Wu Xinjie said. Suddenly, they found they also had promised the little whirlwind the matter of her star beast. The knowledge star looked at Su Xing tilting his head with one eye closed, wearing a happy expression. She suddenly felt. It cannot be said for sure that Liangshan continent's 1,000-year situation of sisters fighting one another in the star duels will truly end by his hand. Su Xing stared. Beneath his feet was a gorgeous and complex sword refinement array. This array was like a thriving large tree, opening its branches and leaves into 12 small arrays. Clear light rushed into the skies, and with the luxuriant green leaves, Su Xing's entire person seemed to have become an ancient tree of the firmaments. The materials refined from 12 evil-suppressing gem bamboos hovered above the small arrays. Su Xing's hand struck hand seals. Purple and magic clouds made a soft bang, and the purple clouds began to move about from the sword refinement veins. Instantly, they wrapped the 12 evil-suppressing gem bamboos within. Su Xing's mouth slowly echoed with an incantation. The purple true qi blazed more brightly than flame. It was suddenly more vigorous, and the purple light all of a sudden surged continuously. The evil-suppressing gem bamboo hovering inside began to gradually dissolve. The expression on Su Xing's expression began to become heavy as he stared at this object without blinking. After no less than an hour passed, the evil-suppressing gem bamboo gradually was pulled thin, becoming a sword embryo. Seeing this, Su Xing flung his sleeve, leisurely rolling up a jade box on the ground. The box instantly opened by itself, revealing faint purple light, a sand of pervasive spiritual power. The Putua purple bamboo sand was formed by sanding Putua purple bamboo 9 times by 9 times for a process of 81 times. It was an extremely fine material for forging wood-type magic weapons and the like. With a strong defensive spiritual nature, indestructible, the purple bamboo sand became a purple dust that automatically entered the sword embryo. Green light flourished, and faint cloud marks were vaguely visible following the purple bamboo sand's purple light. Then Su Xing activated the array, striking a series of hand seals. Each sank in and disappeared, and taking a deep breath, he suddenly bit open the tip of his tongue. A mouthful of essence blood spurted from his mouth. The essence blood followed the life-bound heart flower that sunk into the sword embryo. All of them dripped in and absorbed without exception. Immediately, the sword embryo's color flashed with a brief scarlet. Su Xing's spirit shook, his eyebrows lifting. Using divine intent to suppress one of the wooden swords among them, that magic circle flickered with every kind of cryptic pattern. Su Xing's 10 fingers seemingly sketched lines, beginning to control the flying sword's revolutions. Afterwards, with a flashy style, he started to carve the shape of the wood sword. His style was firm yet also charming, as if etched with sand. Natural and unforced, the magic circle, engravings and amulets were meticulously refined in. The originally ordinary wood sword in a split second was just like a beauty that put on makeup. The blade's edge had cloud marks like running water, its clear light scathing. Fully expanding, the spiritual power was ample. 2 days later, the 12 green-colored flying swords congregated around Su Xing's body, hovering straight, immobile and motionless like the firmament's spirit bamboo. Green light flashed, circulating. The 12 flying swords were completely dark green, the evil-suppressing cloud marks dazzling. The sword tip spat a powerful clear light, blowing wave upon wave, tranquil and distant. Upon the sword hilts were carved 2 words, Langia. Su Xing looked at these 12 Langia swords and still raised a surprised expression. As expected, the flying swords forged using the 10,000-year evil-suppressing gem bamboo was insufferably arrogant. Clearly, it had already reached a psychic realm. The evil-suppressing clear light contained on the sword would repel ordinary evils. The clear light washed, making Su Xing appear like a hermit adept, a hint of dust blown by light winds and clouds. What made Su Xing even more surprised was that when he nurtured the Langia swords within his body, the somewhat wilted meditative mind lotus flower immediately ceased its withering. The meridians across his whole body had a warm current flow through, and his mental state reached an unprecedented tranquil realm. The heart's like mirror absolute sincerity technique clearly reached the pinnacle of the second stage. This 10,000-year evil-suppressing gem bamboo really is amazing. Su Xing praised. Langia dispersed, washing out with immemorial clear sounds. These sounds could be rated as profound, making people hearing them reflect endlessly. With expenditures this great, the price to forge the wood element flying sword did not disappoint him, as expected. Although the degree of sharpness was far from comparison to heaven tearing, Langia's evil-suppressing clear light nevertheless broke devils and eliminated evils. Reforming from the heart, it would be slightly sharper than heaven tearing in every aspect. Having finished settling the most important matter of the wood element flying sword, Su Xing sighed in relief. Next was to polish the flying sword in his dantian. Quietly waiting for 3 days, evil smiting hall would commence. Su Xing entered the immortal's abode alone, secluding himself in meditation as he continuously tempered Langia. At this time he flipped his hand, and a shadowy black mirror appeared in his hand. Su Xing pondered. I wonder how Wuxia is doing right now? Not being able to go to evil smiting hall together with her is actually a pity. At a distance 3,000 li outside of Su Xing's void immortal's abode Tiger Stream, 2 below Tiger Creek Mountain. 3. In the green grasses like cushions, from the mountain gorge came the bang, bang, bang sounds of fighting. A man and woman pair quickly crossed left and right, their attack methods repeatedly executing. The one attacked was a woman, her figure wonderful, her facial features cool and elegant. With flowing hair, her gait gracefully wandered among the attacks, unstained by dust. An instant later, the man and woman's attacks were exhausted, stopping one by one. The one receiving the attacks was precisely Wuxia. Evil smiting hall is imminent. Challenging your servant right now is rather too worrying. Wuxia was preoccupied. She was unarmed, having not even brought out her star weapon. Just which elder sister are you? The attacking girl was cute. Her head wore a gold band, was garbed in golden thread green plain yellow robes, draped in a dark green cloak, stuck with a skyward club. Her hand clenched an ice-cold sharp polearm. This weapon had red tassels, coiling like a fierce tiger. The entire body was gold, silver and dark green, with 3 dazzling stars. It was the 72nd ranked complete Starstream Leaping Tiger Chinda's star weapon. Pouncing Kill Silver Light Spear. 5. Zhanlu. 6. Be careful. A smart and accomplished youth shouted from the side. He was draped in a dull blue and white robe, Galaxy Early Stage Cultivation. 12 Stream Heavenly Water Parting Flying Swords actually used exceptionally. This person was known as Gong Song. 7. A Star Master that came from Dragon Spring Stream. Although Dragon Spring Stream could be said to be a not very well-known small sect, they had considerable understanding of mountain gorge arts. Besides, the stream leaping tiger Chinda's innate skill was mountain stream flicker. 8. This type of topography could greatly promote each of their speeds and reactions, but there was no way they could have thought the two working together were helpless against the cool and elegant star general before them. In addition, their counterpart had not even used her star weapon. If you have this much confidence in your ability, then do not use your star weapon. Gong Song used a psychology. His hands formed seals, and 9 large banners appeared. The banners formed 9 spring mouths, becoming a magic circle. He used the Dragon Spring Stream's special Great Array, 9 Springmouth's Dragon Trapping Array. 9 Psychology. Wuxia's eyes were somewhat disdainful. Seeing the 9 Springmouth's Dragon Trapping Array, she showed a patronizing expression. No wonder they dared to come battle her. They had some capital. Your servant will not kill you. Leave on your own. After evil smiting Hall, if you wish to court death, your servant naturally will oblige you. Wuxia appeared absent-minded, as if they're on her mind perplexing her. Humph. While inside your servant the stream-leaping tiger's domain, elder sister is still this arrogant. You will regret it. The complete star suddenly jumped. Her figure dispersed like a shadow, in layers seemingly real and fake. The pouncing kill silver light spear immediately launched points of cold light. Fluttering and graceful, they suddenly enveloped Wuxia within. Dark rank spear technique. Terrified to the bone. 10 Stream Leaping Tiger. Wuxia looked at the 9 Springmouth's Dragon Trapping Array as if it was nothing. Nimbly withdrawing 100 meters, she calmly said, "Your servant just happens to be a tiger fighter." What? The stream-leaping tiger Chen Zhanlu and Gong Song looked at Wuxia unexpectedly still able to move about this freely, and were immediately shocked. But what frightened them was still afterwards. Wuxia actually did not bring out her star weapon. Flipping out a bottle of fine wine, she took a large swig. Then her figure swayed, and she faced the pouncing kill silver light spear barehanded. Yellow rank special move. 3 bowls of spirits tiger intoxication. Her speed, power and reactions were even faster than before. In the blink of an eye, the stream-leaping tiger's attack pounced onto air. Wuxia swayed and punched Chunda in the stomach. There was an acute pain, as if bone was shattered, somewhat more powerful than compared to before. The stream-leaping tiger used the pouncing kill silver light spear to block, nevertheless she was incapable of intercepting the strike. Several consecutive punches made her defenses into nothing, being struck into repeatedly backwards, leaving her battered and bruised. Without using any star weapons, injuring a star general with her bare hands, and with a boxing technique so violent. You are Pilgrim Wusong. The tiger stream very quickly recovered its tranquility, for Chen Zhanlu and Gong Song used the jade pendant to escape. Before a completed star general, Wuxia had no intentions of killing them. Searching around the tiger stream, she found several pieces of precious stones. Immediately afterwards, she sat on the white and black unicorn tiger, and flew towards the mountaintop. The mountain range was extremely tall, and the peak of ice and snow also had a hot spring. Wuxia extended her divine intent into the surrounding several dozen li. Not detecting any figures, she dismounted. Gently undoing her skirt, her virgin fragrance rippled, exposing her slender curves, a desirable body supple as boneless immortals. Wuxia entered the hot spring. That warm water was a supreme pleasure in a world of ice and snow. Bathing for a while in the hot spring, Wuxia pensively sighed, her mood constantly still in a mess. Originally, she had thought that leaving that man could allow her to calm down a bit, but already much time had passed. Always the image of that repulsive man would flash past her. Regardless of whether it was his contracting the leisure star in her face or calling her that bizarre wifey. Although their time in the Vermilion Bird territory was very short, it nevertheless made Wuxia feel those brief days were the most unforgettable since the star duels began. In this mutual plan, in the dog-eat-dog star duels, Wuxia for the first time had actually forgotten about the star duels, forgotten about her oath. He is Lin Yingmei's master. That is why your servant feels this way. Wuxia gave herself an excuse. She shook her head. How could your servant be confused by a man? A steady tone, Wuxia had always been firm. A month's exhaustion in this ice and snow vanished in this hot spring. Wuxia decided to once again reinstate herself to her previous self, to thoroughly forget that man named Su Xing, to fight only for the reputation of this generation's harm star. First of all, she decided to destroy the thing that man left behind. Wuxia exhaled, climbing onto the bank. Her flawless and lovely body completely lacked any covering. Her shapely body would make men wild. Turning a blind eye to the surrounding ice and snow, That chilly temperature just happened to be able to calm her mind. The white and black unicorn tiger turned its head upwards. Wuxia leisurely waved her hand, and an item flew out. This item was an exquisite mirror, glistening with golden light, extremely beautiful. Acting as a gift Su Xing left to Wuxia, Wuxia only took it to be proof left behind of memories in the vermilion bird territory. Keeping this kind of item with her, in the end, was too great a disturbance to her mind. Using that mirror, Wuxia's perfect naked body and those two frozen pupils were reflected. From this day forward, your servant will no longer have any relationship with you, Su Xing. Wuxia's voice broke ice and sliced snow. One hand grasped the mirror. One hand imbued star energy in preparation to destroy this mirror. The golden light increasingly dazzled, enveloping the snowy peak within. Wuxia unexpectedly sensed a sun-like warmth comfort her stomach. Up and down her whole body was full of warmth. That scene with the blurting when they confronted Envious of the East flashed past Wuxia's mind. Husband for a day, a husband for life. Again, she remembered these flippant words, though they were said with some logic. Lord husband, your servant shall now bid you farewell. Wuxia knew this would be the last sigh that she, the harm star, would heave in this life. The odd stones were rugged, the thousand peaks jagged. Green bluebird vines hung on both sides, a cool breeze gently blew, and the creek water guzzled, evoking the image of a beautiful and secluded place. Dragon Spring Stream. The Azure Dragon territory rarely had streams become the foundational school of a sect. A man and woman walked past this tranquil place with great strides, as if that beautiful scenery of Dragon Spring Stream was nothing. Upon their faces hung indescribable dejection and unreconciliation. This man and woman were the complete star stream leaping tiger Chen Zhanlu and Gong Song. After they walked out from the void immortal's abode with unsightly expressions, they continuously traveled towards Dragon Spring Stream's main palace, walking over to Waterfall River Hall, encountering the harm star pilgrim Wu Song on Tiger Creek Mountain. To them, being defeated by her when she was unarmed simply was the greatest humiliation. Although Wu Song was extraordinary in unarmed combat arts, and also used a yellow rank move, besides that the pilgrim Wu Song was also an expert in fighting tigers, from the perspective of the stream-leaping tiger, being defeated practically could not have been any more natural. But Chen Zhanlu was very furious, unreconciled. She could accept defeat, but she could not accept a defeat where the opponent did not even use a star weapon. Zhanlu, could it be we are still going? Gong Song was somewhat anxious. Harm Star Wu Song simply was their natural nemesis. Even if Dragon Spring Stream altogether moved, they would not necessarily take down Wu Song. Recalling not so long ago that there was some sun sect that wanted to contract Wu Song, and ended up being destroyed, although Gong Song was very dedicated to the star duels, he nevertheless did not want to throw his life away. The imminent evil smiting hall was on the verge of starting. To provoke her at this time was somewhat not too wise. Chen Zhanlu turned her head. Grinding her sharp baby teeth, she looked like an angry tiger cub. Young master, do not forget. That perfect harmony is still here. Wu Song definitely will discover it. She will obstruct us there, at the perfect harmony. But Wu Song. Zhanlu knows what young master is worried about. We had best first inform the headmaster of this matter, see what decision he will make. Chen Zhanlu snorted. Gong Song nodded. Along the way, some of the Dragon Spring Stream's disciples respectfully greeted them. Gong Song could not help but once again puff out his chest. Although he had just entered the ranks of star cultivators for not even 3 years, his status in the Dragon Spring Stream was just like it was second to none. And this was all due to the complete star stream leaping tiger Chen Zhanlu. The star duels were extremely dangerous, and many star generals had even been recognized by Liangshan continent's public as a set of cannon fodder. Despite this, other than materials courting death that were cannon fodder, the likes of the leader star Songjiang or divine mathematician Jiang Jing. 2. The majority of people chasing after the star generals still were numerous. Just by contracting, they could enjoy the star generals' innate skill, and advance their cultivation even more quickly than ordinary star cultivators. These 2 points were sufficient to make cultivators restless. Some star cultivators, so long as their luck was not that bad, they basically could reach supercluster stage cultivation by the 4th phase. This type was but the realm of the Liangshan continent's ancestors. Ordinarily, this could not necessarily be reached without 60 or 70 years, but signing a star dual covenant nevertheless easily solved that. Junior brother Gongsong. Inside Waterfall River Hall, a female cultivator slightly smiled. Although she was a senior sister, she was quite respectful. Is headmaster present? Chen Zhanlu asked bluntly. An ancestral master Su Wangchuan III, from the Most High Path has come. Headmaster is currently in a discussion with him. The female cultivator said. Ancestral master Su Wangchuan? Gong Song exclaimed. The Most High Path was worthy of being called the Azure Dragon Territory's #1 great sect, for its ancestral masters were all supercluster stage cultivation. A great sect capable of having 3 ancestral masters would have to thank the heavens. Sects like the Dragon Spring Stream had only Headmaster Taoist Master Dragon Spring as the only one to reach supercluster stage. Recently, the Most High Path had suffered misfortune again and again, which could be rated as the Azure Dragon Territory's #1 joke. The Elder Immortal Extreme Clarity praised as the strongest supercluster stage, and the Supervoid stage Envious of the East had both perished in battle, shocking Liangshan. However, because of the Most High Path's actions and conduct at 5 Poisons Mountain, no one sympathized with them. On the contrary, they all saw next year's Alliance of 10 Drills as a joke. The one clear of Azure Dragon Territory's #1 sect was perhaps about to change owners, but they had not expected they would even send out an ancestral master at that. It seemed this sort of great sect truly was unfathomable. Gong Song could not help but feel very insignificant. The final 7 stars definitely would belong to the star masters of this type of sect. Is young master afraid? Chen Zhanlu smirked. Gong Song smiled in embarrassment. Gong Song naturally will work as one with Zhanlu. Chen Zhanlu did not mind him, wrinkling her brow and asked, What has the Most High Path come to do? Zhanlu, there are things you do not know. The Dragon Spring Stream is a member of the Most High Alliance. The headmaster must also be deferential to the Most High Path. Gong Song explained. What face does the Most High Path even have right now? Unexpectedly challenging a star general. Even a supervoid stage cultivator apparently died at Wu Song's hand. Chen Zhanlu was disdainful. Suddenly, the stream-leaping tiger's eyes glinted, showing a crafty expression. Wu Song HM, you came at the perfect time. This Su has come this time because he wishes to borrow your sect's perfect harmony spring for a use. Taoist Master can also see, most recently the Most High Path urgently needs morale, and Jin Yuan is off by a step. Su Wangchuan's white hair was past his knees, and his face wore a good-natured smile. On Su Wangchuan's left and right were 2 handsome young men. One was grave and stern, not saying a word, the other silent and expressionless. Taoist Master Dragon Spring had very deep fear. He knew that icily arrogant man not saying a word had been referred to as Azure Dragon Territory's #1 Star Master, Jin Yuan. Upon seeing him today, he was formidable as expected, already having reached the peak of galaxy, and the other disciple Bing Qingxian also was of extraordinary cultivation. He had reached the peak of galaxy middle stage too. Taoist Master Dragon Spring bitterly smiled. The perfect harmony spring was something an ancestral master of the Dragon Spring Stream discovered during a certain generation of star duels. Reportedly, if 2 people simultaneously submerged in this pool absorbed the quintessence of the spring water, it could allow perfect harmony between their minds, uniting them in body and mind. Originally, it was to be given to companions practicing dual cultivation to use, but in star duels afterwards it had seen use. It was discovered that star masters and star generals could become even more powerful. Since then, it had become a goal of some earthly stars in successive generations of star duels. Heavenly stars are extremely few, with very high conceit. They would not join together with a man in a married couple's bath, for that bit of inner quality. Female star masters were an exception. However, the perfect harmony spring was extremely difficult to find. relying on every kind of environmental factor to naturally form. In all of the world, only the Dragon Spring stream had the sole secret technique capable of finding it. Thus, the Dragon Spring stream could join the Most High Alliance by merely relying on a single galaxy middle stage ancestral master. Your servant has already assigned a disciple to find it, however. These perfect harmony springs honestly are too few and still has not been found. Taoist Master Dragon Spring said. Evil Smiting Hall is about to open. This sect hopes you can find it prior. Su Wangchuan slightly smiled. Of course, the Most High Path will be endlessly thankful. Although Liang's Most High Path has currently run into a bit of trouble, it does not mean anything. Taoist Master Dragon Spring promptly consented. This Su has heard fellow Dragon Spring School has a Star Master? Su Wangchuan gently said, stroking his beard, an everything is in my hand attitude. Taoist Master Dragon Spring knew that Su Wangchuan wanted to know the inside details, and he did not hide anything. She is merely the 72nd rank complete star stream leaping tiger Chinda. We still count on the Most High Path. The stream leaping tiger, huh? As expected, she is very compatible with the Dragon Spring stream. Su Wangchuan smiled. This is natural. This sect also counts on your sect's perfect harmony. These 9th generation star duels now truly are increasingly intense. Ever since the Purple Thunder monster snatched this sect's prehistoric spirit treasures and broke apart the balance between each of the sects, now the other sect's star masters that do not have prehistoric spirit treasures simply can only be sent off to their deaths. This way is also good. Our Most High Path for these past few years accumulated many prehistoric spirit treasures that just happened to be able to be taken out for use. Fellow Dragon Spring needs only to be able to lend the Most High Path a helping hand. As for this matter of prehistoric spirit treasures, this Su certainly will make every effort to go request Ancestor 3 clarities. Su Wangchuan slightly smiled. Taoist Master Dragon Spring continuously said yes. Master. Something has happened. At this time, a female cultivator anxiously came from outside the door and announced. Su Wangchuan was displeased. What is the matter? To be this helter-skelter, throwing aside etiquette before a guest. How scandalous. The female cultivator screamed in fright. Master, this is bad. Junior brother Gong Song and little sister Chen Zhanlu are injured and have returned. What? Taoist Master Dragon Spring stood up from his seat with a start, somewhat looking at Su Wangchuan in alarm. Let us first go see what has happened. Su Wangchuan's expression was full of concern. Yes. Outside the Dragon Spring Stream's Void Immortal's abode, Su Wangchuan, Xie Zhenyuan and Bing Qingxian were stopped outside. Su Wangchuan's eyelids rose. Taoist Master Dragon Spring did not mind that much, worriedly entering the Immortal's abode. When he saw Chen Zhanlu's vitality was still very good, Taoist Master Dragon Spring was startled. What is going on? Master, Zhanlu has a plan. Gong Song said just like that. After summarizing what happened, the stream-leaping tiger coldly smiled. Zhanlu feels that Wu Song cannot be said for certain to already have begun to defile the perfect harmony spring by bathing in it. If she does not leave, that would be a waste. Now the Most High Path has come to court death. As it happens, we can have them go draw away the harm star. How does Headmaster feel? Taoist Master Dragon Spring muttered to himself, not at all urgently answering. Chen Zhanlu slightly smiled, an appearance of having a card up her sleeve. Headmaster needs only to arbitrarily leak information for this to work. Who in Liangshan continent does not know that the Most High Path and Wu Song have a life and death hatred for one another? Even the 1000 Pagoda star Chao Gai pays no heed. This #1 great sect of the Azure Dragon is prepared to lose face to still take revenge. They naturally have one choice. Moreover, Zhanlu can sense that there is a sister nearby. And good. Taoist Master Dragon Spring immediately agreed the moment he could not think of any disadvantages. Exiting the Immortal's abode, the old fox Taoist Master immediately put out a grieving and helpless expression. Su Wangchuan stepped forward and asked with concern. Fellow, why are you like this? Your sect's Star Master as well? In the end his life is safe. Taoist Master Dragon Spring said. Did she encounter another star general? Bing Qingxian opened his mouth to ask. Taoist Master Dragon Spring explained as they walked, repeating the excuse he had prepared beforehand. More or less, Chen Zhanlu had nearly found the perfect harmony spring on Tiger Creek Mountain, but she nevertheless encountered the most terrifying fiend star of the star generals, Harm Star Wusong. As a result, the two sides battled. Yet how could the stream-leaping tiger be the tiger-fighting pilgrim's opponent? Wusong beat her home using just her bare hands, and now, she was recovering. Wusong. Hearing this name, Su Wangchuan's eyes had a foul light that then sunk. As Chen Zhanlu thought, the most high path right now took Wusong to be its mortal enemy, one that had to die. Before Taoist Master Dragon Spring could say anything more, Su Wangchuan slightly muttered to himself and then said, Since you have seen Wusong, then this ancestor shall go meet her. See just what ability she has. This sect cannot meddle in the star duels, and must ask that fellow Wangchuan understand. This sort of matter need not involve your sect. This sect naturally will make Wusong pleasantly surprised. Su Wangchuan slightly smiled. He looked at Xiezhen Yuan and Bing Qingxian and slightly nodded. And how could they know that at this moment, Wuxia currently was about to be confronted with the most shameful scene of her whole life? The light-shifting mirror shot out a shroud of golden light that was like fire. A clump of light began to concentrate and take shape in front of her chest. Just as she thought of getting rid of her distracting thoughts, the Wuxia who was at peace with herself suddenly saw this change and showed confusion. At this time, the golden light instantly dimmed, and suddenly, Wuxia felt an unprecedented manly burning hurt her jade leg, her stomach, and even her whole body. An originally supposed to have been cut off man now was nose to nose, large eyes staring at small eyes with her. Her own threadbare body currently was being tightly stuck to by that man, with not even the smallest gap in between them. Wuxia had not yet returned to her senses, still under the impression another illusion had appeared. In this month since she bade Su Xing farewell, Wuxia always felt ill at ease, unable to set her mind to rest and not yet awakened from the vermilion bird territory. To the Harm Star, this was a dangerous signal, and consequently, she thought to take the opportunity to cut all of these distracting thoughts with a hot spring in ice and snow. But she had not expected that damned bastard would appear from within the mirror. Wifey. Su Xing gaped and was speechless, shaken by that dreamlike stunning scene before his eyes. He had only seen the image-shifting mirror show activity, and came to investigate. Who would have thought he would see the most beautiful scene of his life? Seeing Wuxia dumbstruck, Su Xing was somewhat worried whether or not she might have broken down. Lord Husband Su Xing. Wuxia subconsciously yelled. Sensing the two words Lord Husband about to slip off her tongue, she immediately changed her tune. A yang fire the kind that hit people in the face clearly informed her. This bastard had appeared in the flesh. Wuxia immediately pushed to shove Su Xing away. Su Xing fell back a step. Suddenly she discovered if this bastard withdrew like this, then her body certainly would actually be completely seen. As a result, she then pulled. The speed of this tugging back and forth was extremely quick. Su Xing basically could not firmly plant his center of gravity, and with a stumble, he immediately fell forwards. Even Wuxia, in all her life, had never met with such a shameful scenario. For a while, she felt her whole body and her limbs were rigid. Su Xing fell onto her body, and this time, a contact that completely lacked reservations came onto her body. Her towering twin peaks were being pressed down, yet this was not all. Behind her was a hot spring, and the result of this fall was that the two of them plunked into the hot spring, lifting a splash. The white and black unicorn tiger whimpered and stood up. Blinking its eyes, it watched its master and a man tumble into the pool. Since Wuxia did not focus any killing intent against the man in front of it, the white and black unicorn tiger could only awkwardly watch. Hot spring water surged across the whole sky. In that instant, Wuxia's mind was blank. The two of them tightly stuck to each other, sinking into the depths just like two happily married stones. Those bubbles in the surroundings of the hot spring swept across both sides. In this completely watery world, Wuxia's consciousness was apparently even more chaotic, yet also seemingly even more lucid. The two's eyes were fixed on one another, seemingly making everything in the surroundings disappear. The hot spring was not deep, and falling to the bottom, Su Xing had inadvertently pressed onto Wuxia's naked body. The nymph's two twin peaks being squished made Wuxia moan from her throat. Just at this moment, that comfortable spring water seemed to want to do evil things. In the water, an indescribably wonderful energy then seemed to have been provoked. Frantically, the waters stirred, and countless white bubbles visible to the naked eye currently advanced towards the two wrapped together to dissolve into their skin. Their bodies then seemed to be drawn closely together like positive and negative magnets, basically unable to disengage. Wuxia felt an ill sense of foreboding, but her body seemed to have lost its strength. She could only allow these bubbles to blend Su Xing with her. Slowly, their lips began to draw near each other, as if even their souls began to harmonize. Wuxia's eyes chilled, and a gorgeous star crest suddenly manifested on Wuxia's forehead. The white and black unicorn tiger anxiously paced back and forth along the shore, incessantly growling at the bubbling hot spring. Boom! The hot spring soared up, lifting a spray of 100 meters. Afterwards, there was a heavy rain on the snowy peak. The entire hot spring unexpectedly had a large hole open in it. Su Xing continuously coughed, his whole body drenched. Gasping for breath, it seemed as if he had died. What sort of scene is this? Su Xing wiped his forehead and shook his head. In that instant just now, his consciousness seemingly frozen. There was a soft moan. A nymph-like body fell in front of him. Su Xing saw a pair of flawless jade feet, and following the jade feet upward were crystalline legs and slender thighs. Between the thighs was a breathtaking hidden valley, and further up was a navel and towering supple peaks. Long hair almost completely covered the bright red summits of the twin peaks, and after those was a swan-like satiny neck. Finally, there was a cool and elegant to the extreme, absolutely beautiful face and a pair of pupils that could freeze. Roar! The white and black unicorn tiger suddenly bared its fangs, pouncing at Su Xing. Apparently, it was resentful Su Xing would so wantonly look at Wuxia's body. Su Xing lightly fell back, evading the white and black unicorn tiger. Wuxia covered her chest with one hand, and with a spin, she draped a star cultivator's cloak around herself. The white and black unicorn tiger once again bit at him, its attack very ferocious. Owing to it being Wuxia's star beast, Su Xing could not easily act, calling forth the 12 Langya to go block it. Little white enough. A cold shout. The white and black unicorn tiger ceased its offensive, crouching nearby like a kitten. Su Xing turned his head to look. Wuxia already changed into a pilgrim's attire. A black and white long skirt outlined her graceful curves. She had traveler's armor, and her eyes seemingly were a deep galaxy, brimming with incomprehensible mystery. You. Truly wretched. Wuxia gnashed her teeth. Did you deliberately give me the mirror? Were you waiting for this opportunity? Xio. Truly you wrongly accuse me. Su Xing raised his hands, calling injustice. The light-shifting mirror only needed to be imbued with star energy to know its use. Su Xing not saying so was because he felt Wuxia would understand that on her own. How would Wuxia know though? She imbued star energy to destroy the mirror, and completely lacked the mind to care about the details of this mirror. Although this time, she somewhat blundered, when she recalled her incorruptible body had been seen completely by this man. Her heart burned with an obscure fire. She had even wanted to cut these distracting thoughts just now, but how could she have anticipated the distracting thoughts would be increasingly deep-rooted? This hot spring also was very much an unfathomable mystery, for Wuxia unexpectedly felt as if she was part of the man in front of her. The perfect harmony spring originally was given to star masters to bathe in order to meld together into one. Those that immersed themselves in the spring water not only could promote their respective cultivations, the star nest would expand, and the perfect harmony realm between them would be met. The most basic characteristic of this sort of realm was the sense of belonging. In the end, Wuxia simply explosively exerted her star energy, blowing the perfect harmony spring clean away. Otherwise, under this perfect harmony spring, she and Su Xing would even be forced to sign a star dual covenant. Sensing this point, Wuxia had a very glad yet also somewhat unclear odd feeling. Just as Wuxia was about to speak, at this moment, she suddenly wrinkled her brow. Your servant just happens to be somewhat in a foul mood, and you actually dropped in yourself. Wuxia's figure moved. Disappearing from Su Xing's front, he glanced to the side. A silhouette flew out, more than a dozen jade clarity swords slashing with whooshes. The noble frost demonic lotus waved, sweeping aside these flying swords. Immediately afterwards, several magic weapons attacked, and the white and black unicorn tiger pounced towards the sky. Another several dozen flying swords encircling Xie. Su Xing could not help but narrow his eyes when he saw the attacking newcomer. Along with the most high-path star master Xie was another disciple called from who knows where to throw away his life. That supercluster middle stage was not bad. Su Xing did not hesitate at all to beckon with his hand. Langya rippled with clear light, linking together into one, attacking their star generals. Careful of the flying swords. These flying swords are very unusual. Bing Qingxian was taken aback, maneuvering his own flying swords to form a sword array. Several dozen blue light flying swords rose into the air to attack, clear light flashing. Green chi lingered, an extremely good sight. Also very powerful. Su Xing could tell the flying swords of the man in front of him were formidable, seemingly with a bit elder immortal extreme clarity's shadow. The 12 Langya were far from as sharp as heaven tearing. Just now they barely blocked. Su Xing's action were not slow, and he then fired a purple mansion immortal thunder. Interesting. Never expected the famous harm star to unexpectedly soak in a hot spring with a man for a married couple's bath. Su Wangchuan showed an evil smile when he saw the scene on the mountain. Wuxia's face was slightly red, her eyes containing a thick killing intent. She soared. Do you have to be weird about wifey and I bathing together? Su Xing chuckled. He waved his hand, and an enormous hand of purple cloud grabbed at Su Wangchuan. Don't speak nonsense, who is your wifey? Wuxia slashed and cut away at the flying swords. On one hand, she berated in a low voice, and on the other, she did not stop in the slightest as she attacked to Xie Zhenyuan's front. This time, the currently resentful Wuxia overhead only took this most high path to be voyeurs, wanting to kill them in a spurt of energy. How could Xie Zhenyuan be able to block the harm star? He immediately retreated, throwing out an artifact. Do not hurt, master. At this time, a delicate girl emerged, her hands waving. They saw fine silk cover the skies and divine light flying needles flutter out and form a net. When Xie Zhenyuan saw, he shouted, Rulan, 5 go back. At the same time he struck hand seals, using an ability. So frank. Su Xing shook his head, at the same time gesturing. The large hand of purple cloud pinched at Bing Qingxian. With Su Xing's current accomplishments, to be frank, facing this somewhat strange but galaxy middle stage cultivator in front of him was not something he cared for. He prepared to swiftly kill Bing Qingxian, and then go help Wuxia resolve her besieged situation. Suddenly, Bing Qingxian showed a sinister smile. Su Xing felt things were far from encouraging. His divine sense already was very powerful, but the opponent's attack this time still took him by surprise. A black shadow rushed at Su Xing practically by the time Su Xing noticed. It was already too late. A powerful and swift imposing air restrained him, rushing for his throat. A sharp star energy nearly locked him down. A kind of shock from fear entering the soul. This sort of feeling that could make people shudder was precisely dark rank star magic. Kiss of death. 6. Hearing this cold shout, a figure that could hide even more monstrously than Shi Yuan immediately appeared beside Su Xing, her saber's edge brushing across Su Xing's neck. After shooting at birds all year round, this time, he was about to be pecked by the bird. Just as Su Xing was about to stake everything on sustaining the injury to counterkill, a surprising scene appeared. Blood splashed, and there was a feeble groan. Wuxia used the Tenli demonic lotus dragon slaying to reach Su Xing's side. Having just bathed in a married couple's bath, she was abnormally silent. With one move, she helped Su Xing block this slash, even repelling the sneak-attacking assassin. Xio, are you alright? Su Xing hastily swiped the miraculous Bodhi tree to dispel all the attacks. The bottom of Wu Xiao's heart was complex when she saw the concern Su Xing showed. She realized some things could not be cut. That you're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.